to order the Oshkosh Common Council for May 28, 2019. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Present.
Krause,
Here.
Peschel,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Allison Osby. Here. Herman,
Here.
Palmieri,
Here.
present 7.
Next, Councilmember Mugrower will join us or lead us in the invocation.
As we gather tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to this city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we govern.
Our students are not here with us to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, so we'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next, we have a presentation of the 2019 Acanthus Awards. And Shirley Maddox will be presenting these awards.
Good evening. Tonight's a special night. For over 25 years, during the Historic Preservation Month, the Landmarks Commission and the City of Oshkosh present the Acanthus Awards for historic preservation projects to people that have done wonderful things in preservation and for projects. The first one is the Acanthus Award is being presented for the Doe House and recognizing Rebecca Brown and Paul Williams. So Rebecca, would you please come forward? As she comes forward, I'd like to let you know that this was important enough for her to fly in from Texas to accept this award. The City of Oshkosh and the Landmarks Commission recognizes Rebecca Brown and Paul Williams for setting an example to owners of historic properties by restoring the restoration of the William H. Doe House at 456 Mount Vernon Street with the community through the effective use of social media. Rebecca and Paul purchased this historic home in April 2018, which was built for her great-great-great-grandfather, William Harvey Doe, in 1869. This Italianate two-story residence with 11 rooms and an elegant tower is one of the finest in the city. This is the first residence designed by William Waters. The contractor and builder was Levi G. Olger. The new owners value this house for its family history and former architectural elegance. They hired Labe Restoration as their preservation contractor and began the slow process in discovering what was original and integral and what had been added over the years. Rebecca set up a Facebook page in January sharing the restoration process through a series of before and after photos and videos. Presently, 245 Facebook members receive an education on restoration. The owners were undaunted by water and structural damage on a huge section of the ceiling in the dining room and show the remedial work step by step. The once beautiful hardwood floors of old-growth pine and maple that had many layers of floor coverings were repaired, scraped, sanded, and finished to bring back their former glory. They discovered artifacts in the floors and walls and attic, including a corset, a letter from William Doe, and early Oshkosh bottles. Over a dozen radiators were disconnected, stripped, and repainted, and will be converted from steam to hot water heat. A 1915 clawfoot Kohler tub and sink were reglazed, ready for reuse. Paul is shown uncovering and restoring parts of the huge tall windows with their wavy glass. A false panel in the butler's pantry reveals an original pass-through window to the dining room. And so the saga of restoring one of Oshkosh's earliest homes continues on Facebook at the Doe House, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. The Landmarks Commission commends you for sharing the restoration of your home on Facebook and educating and interacting with the community in the process of discovery, research, restoring, and preserving this historic Oshkosh home, one challenge at a time. Our city is distinguished for its history and its historic structures. This restoration could become the impetus, Lori, for restoring Oshkosh's earliest settlement neighborhood. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank the Betty family for supporting me in all of this. They were instrumental in even buying the house and starting this project, so thank you very much. And of course, I need to thank Terry and Matt Lake. Without them, I couldn't do this. They have so much knowledge, and Oshkosh is very rich in resources for restoring places. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for all of your hard work.
Lori.
The next honor is for the Howard Jenna Sharp, or Jenna Golem and Carrie Sharp. The City of Oshkosh and the Landmarks Commission recognize the contribution of Carrie Sharp and Jenna Golem for restoring the 1927 Tudor Revival building to its original splendor and ensuring that this building is once again welcoming to the community. The building at 405 Washington Avenue was designed by architect Henry Oler in 1927. Alfred R. Ganther was the builder. The two-story brick building is a great example of the Tudor Revival style, particularly as a large public-oriented building. It was completed in December 1927 and officially opened to the public February 1928 as a meeting place for the Fraternal Order of Eagles. While this was a men's-only club at that time, the building was open to the public and hosted many community events throughout its tenure, from business meetings, music events, political rallies, and wedding receptions. When sisters Carrie Sharp and Jenna Golem purchased the building in 2017, it had fallen into disrepair after being mostly vacant since 2002. Many windows had been boarded up with plywood. Nearly every square inch was touched in the refurbishing process while retaining the major architectural elements and craftsmanship. According to the Howard's website, quote, the interior boasts 25-foot-high vaulted ceilings alongside original stained glass accents and hand-carved crown moldings. Many fixtures and floor plans remain intact as well. The venue's iconic 7,000-square-foot concert hall and ballroom spans 2 floors. The grandiose entertainment hub is outfitted with ornate whitewashed ceilings detailed with elaborate brass fittings that support optimal acoustics. Beyond an imperial staircase illuminated beneath crystal chandeliers, the 1,800-square-foot private dining room also shows off high vaulted ceilings accented with original wood beams. In the basement, the vintage 10-lane bowling alley is fully restored with modern technology and decor, end quote. The building also houses a cafe. The restoration process was well documented on social media via Instagram, including before and after photos showcasing the delicate nature of preservation and restoration of an historic structure. Their sensitivity to the original design is evident. Carrie and Jenna named the revitalized building after their grandfather, Howard Curler, who was an innovator in the food packing industry and a philanthropist. He co-founded the company Carwood, which he would eventually sell to Bemis, later becoming the president in 1977. The Howard was officially recognized on the State Historic Register December 2017 and on the National Historic Register February 2018. The building was nominated under the criterion of architecture, but also under the criterion of social history. Carrie and Jenna have demonstrated through their revitalization of this historic property that they will carry on its tradition of social significance in the city of Oshkosh. In the short time since the building has reopened as the Howard, it has hosted numerous weddings, concerts, dinner theater productions, and community events. May it thrive for many years, and it surely has impacted Oshkosh. Congratulations. There's one more award. You weren't here. Could you just wait right here? On April 12th, there was a state convention in Oshkosh for historic preservation. And normally at this time, state awards are presented. Well, there was one for Oshkosh, and it was for the Howard. And I believe neither of you were available. The presentation was in the historic dome at the Oshkosh Public Library. So today, it's going to be presented to you at the historic City Hall. Our final award is for the Riverside Cemetery Chapel. This is a beautiful structure. Is Bill here? Good. The City of Oshkosh and Landmarks Commission recognizes the restoration and preservation of the interior and exterior of the Riverside Cemetery Chapel. The recent historically sensitive paint and plaster repair serves as an example for all stewards of public historic properties. The building of this non-denominational chapel and the storage vault to accommodate 200 bodies was precipitated by the Spanish flu epidemic in 1919 to 1920. The Romanesque Revival building was designed by Oshkosh architect Julius Drager and built by Floor Brothers Construction in 1921. The first service was May 23, 1921 for Frank Percy. The exterior walls are of locally quarried beige limestone highlighted by parapet gables, stone buttresses like Notre Dame, round arched openings, and an imperial Spanish red tile roof. Guests enter the chapel under a stone porte-cochere through arched double doors. The interior walls are finished in soft tones which harmonize with the rich colors of the Oregon fir cedar hammered beam ceiling. The green and earth tone stained glass windows are from the Baranowski Art Glass Company, based in Oshkosh until 1927. The two magnificent mural-sized paintings by Gustav Benke, donated by the artist, hang high above the chancel and the wall above the entrance. There are no wood partitions, making it practically fireproof, important in the 1920s. The chapel was admired for its solidity and permanency. In 2004, it was included on the National Register of Historic Places. A series of restoration projects to preserve this historic chapel extend from 2006 to 2018. The initial restoration work included replacing the flat roof, the red tile roof, the copper gutters, and tuck pointing of the masonry. All of these repairs were based on both the cost effectiveness of the work as well as the significance of the property. The chapel interior was most recently restored through a generous donation by the Kenzel Family Foundation and other donors. The damaged plaster was restored and the walls were prepared and painted. One of the stained glass windows was also restored by a donor. The goal of the Landmarks Commission for many years was to restore this chapel so it would once again be available for use by the Oshkosh community as it was originally intended. Back in the day, they used to have a funeral service there every single day. It was used. We recognize the city of Oshkosh, the taxpayers, generous donors, the invaluable guidance from consultant Terry Lieb, the Landmarks Commission, and the support of Riverside Cemetery Director Bill Stern for all they contributed to restore and preserve this beautiful chapel. It has graced the cemetery for 98 years. May it serve Oshkosh for many centuries.
Thank you, and it's my honor to accept this on behalf of the citizens of Oshkosh. We had a lot of generous donors and some great help. The Common Council, in support of the restoration project, especially Labe Restoration, was instrumental in guiding the project through the many years that we've been working on it, and I think the outcome has been wonderful, and hopefully we can preserve this into the many, many years. So, thank you.
So next, we have a public hearing, Resolution 19-291, authorized submittal of 2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
No one is registered.
All right. And I'll read this 3 times. So Resolution 19-291, authorized submittal of 2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. And the third and final reading, Resolution 19-291, authorized submittal of 2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Next, we have our first opportunity for
We have to
citizens.
vote on that. Let's come back to council for discussion.
Excuse me. I'll take a motion and a second on that Resolution 19-291.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. Alan, you want to just go over some of the highlights of this year's application and what we're going to be doing with the money we're receiving?
Yes, the city is a recipient of these federal funds from the Housing and Urban Development. We can use these for housing and urban development activities. We've allocated funding for rehabilitation of affordable housing, LMI housing in the city. So that would be owner and potentially rental occupied housing. We've allocated funds for blight elimination through the city and the neighborhoods. And lastly, there'd be some public services that are available to providers of some of the needs for low and moderate income residents of the city. And we also include administration and a few other items that HUD requires us regarding fair housing.
If I can follow up, Mayor. How would citizens contact your office to find out more information, or how would they go about?
Absolutely. Contact our office, 236-5055, if they have an interest in using any of these programs. They do need to be income qualified, so there's a kind of a process that we have to go through to meet the HUD requirements. But feel free to contact us. If this particular program doesn't work, maybe there's another program that might work.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And I just had a follow-up question. I'm sorry, Bob, did you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Follow-up question regarding some of the priority areas determined. So there's a priority 1, 2, and 3. Just kind of interested in some of the criteria. It looks to be similar for priority 1 areas and priority 2 areas. how that distinction is made?
Off the top of my head, I believe that's made based on census information we get, and I believe that's done through the survey, the American Community Survey, and that gets updated annually or twice every other year. So we actually update that map as we get information from the census when it comes to identifying those census tracts. Maybe perhaps Ms. Brandt can correct anything I might have
Ms.
said.
Brandt, would you want to elaborate? So the criteria for priority areas 1 and 2 appear to be very similar.
Previously, we have identified priority areas for different activities eligible under the CDBG program, but based on the categories that we have been using for housing rehab, which is scattered sites throughout the community, they just have to be income qualified. Central city redevelopment, which is slum and blight removal. Again, it has to be in a low to moderate income census tract, and since those census tracts have changed, as the map was shown up on the screen a few minutes ago. So those priority areas really aren't being used anymore.
Okay, and then did I also read there's a consultant or someone being contracted to update the impediments to fair housing report?
Yes, yes.
And what is the time frame on that?
We should have that approved, our council should be approving that by the end of the year, hopefully.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Peschel.
I have no discussion other than I'm going to declare that I'm going to vote present on this resolution, as my employer is one of the beneficiaries of some of the funds that are being distributed.
Okay. Any other discussion? Can we please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Present?
Miller,
Aye.
Ellison Osby. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri.
Aye.
Carried 6-1 present.
Okay, next is the first opportunity for citizen statements to council. Citizens are to address the council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes and must address items that are not listed on the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact on the city of Oshkosh and the common council, may address at a future meeting, and must not include endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering. So this would be if you're addressing something that's not. Do we have anyone registered?
Yes, we do. Steve Barney, 1335 Summit Avenue.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. I'm just following up on a couple emails that I sent you since your last meeting about Roundup or glyphosate. Because I recently discovered that my own landlord is using it on his property, and then they had signs, pesticide application signs on the front lawn of the Oshkosh Public Library. I actually called the phone number on that sign. I asked them if they used Roundup. They said no, but I think in retrospect I asked the wrong question. I should have asked them if they're using glyphosate, which is the harmful ingredient in Roundup and other lawn chemicals. And I didn't get any reply to my email, so I'm following up. First of all, I'd just like to know, I'd like to get reassurance that the city is not using Roundup or any other lawn pesticide that uses glyphosate. And that's because the World Health Organization a few years ago declared or determined that it is a probable carcinogen. It probably causes cancer. And I assume that there are alternatives that are not in that category. And so I think we have an important reason to avoid it, even though it's not yet illegal in Wisconsin. It is illegal in California now. And there's actually, you may have seen commercials about lawsuits that are being advertised, telling people that they can join a lawsuit if they have developed cancer and they used Roundup. So First, can anybody answer the question? You know, is the city using glyphosate or Roundup?
I don't have an answer to your question. I did not receive your email, Mr. Barney. If you want to forward it to me, I'll direct it to staff. Excuse me. It's likely a question for the Parks Department. I don't want to put anybody on the spot about the situation. I've seen, you know, some of the reports and everything, but
Yeah.
I don't want to just give you an off-the-cuff answer.
Right. All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk, do we have anyone else registered to speak for citizen statements?
No, we do not.
All right, thank you. Could we possibly follow up with Mr. Barney's request for information on that glyphosate, I think it was called?
Yeah, I think it's the active ingredient in
ingredients.
Roundup. Yeah, that's what I'm going to follow up on, and I'll be happy to copy the council on anything I send Mr. Barney.
All right, thank you. Next, we have consent agenda items. And let's see here. We do have people registered to speak for consent agenda, correct?
We have individuals that would like to speak to item 24.
And I would actually like to pull Resolution 19309. If we have a motion and a second to pull 19309.
You don't need a motion to pull it.
We'll just pull it. And I am just going to, before we have citizens come up to speak, I just have a couple of remarks. I'm pulling 19309 to facilitate this process. It's come to my attention, we do have a number of factors at hand. First off, Oshkosh has an abundance of volunteerism. We're very fortunate this year to have had an overwhelming response of applicants for council seat and for boards and commissions this spring. In fact, many more applicants than opening. This council encourages engagement by citizens. New involvement and engagement by a variety of backgrounds and experiences can only occur when openings on the boards are created, either through those citizens moving on to new endeavors or through lost. We have experienced both. Openings are also created when terms expire. We're honored to have such passion for being part of local government and seeing more people with different perspectives stepping forward. We've also been fortunate to have many citizen members give much of their time towards making Oshkosh better. I'm really proud of Oshkosh and that this city has the hospitality and grace to welcome and include new people at our table of abundance and recognize the service of past members. And
We do a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda.
So can we have a motion and a second to separate out the remainder of the items in the consent
Just to
agenda?
approve it.
Just to approve.
Actually, Madam Mayor, I want to remove one as well.
Okay.
If we can remove 19292, approved planning services fee schedule.
Others?
Make a motion, I'm sorry. Motion to amend the consent agenda minus Resolution 7 and Resolution 24.
To approve it,
To
minus
approve
those
it.
two?
To approve it, sorry, minus those two.
Second.
Discussion? Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if Mr. Mauer or Mr. Dolman would like to just speak on Resolution 19-300, just letting the citizens know why we're putting the carousel up for sale in Menominee Park. I know the Parks Board discussed it at length when I was on the Parks Board, and we approved that sale to go forward or bring it back to council. And you want to just give council the reasons that we're going forward with it?
Thank you for the opportunity to talk on this subject, but the Menominee Park Carousel has been out of commission since 2015 due to some repairs that have been out there, mainly due to the hardware and the components. Based on your memo, the information that's in there, based on the age of this unit going through and the amount of repairs going through and the analysis the departments put together for the cost and the fabrication of certain metal components range in an upper echelon of $130,000 going forward. Due to some of the information the Parks Board requested in regards to the cost and the operation of that unit, staffing, we no longer find it's feasible to operate this unit and proposing to the council for the sale of that. Currently isn't disassembled at the location. You'll see the mast and the main stem of that facility still in place. It is called a park model type carousel, which isn't used in a type of like a traveling type carnival situation. So it's one that has to be set up and used and cannot be modified for a carnival type use. So basically we'll be looking at different options out there going forward to know what the value would be if we were able to sell this unit.
Thank you.
Councilmember Krause.
After the sale of the unit, the proceeds would be put towards future amusement park type things, or where would the money go?
The plan would be in on our 255 revenue account where the remaining funds would stay there to know if we want to reevaluate what the amusement area would be or for an attraction in that area.
Okay. So it'd be earmarked for that?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on agenda items? Okay, seeing none. We have a motion and a second to remove 292, 300, and 309.
I don't think 300 is removed.
300 is not removed, no. It's just, okay. So
292 and 3.
292 and 309.
Correct.
Any further discussion on that? All right, can we please call the roll?
So the motion is to adopt the consent agenda minus
Minus-
those two items.
Correct.
Okay.
309 and 292, yes.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
So you have a list of individuals who wish to speak on
We should do 292 first.
We gotta do 292.
292?
I have no individuals for resolution 19292.
Okay. Any further discussion on 19292?
We need a motion and a second to put it on the
Yeah.
floor first.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe Mr. Burrich could come up, and this might be under Alan's purview, or Mr. Davis's purview as well, but my only concern with this, and I apologize for not giving you a heads up, usually I try to do that. Under this one, you're adding a new fee to the schedule, short-term rental fee, $100. We currently don't have one. And I'd like to know your thoughts behind $100, because from my information, the way the process is going to work once this kicks off after EAA this year, is that the applicants would go to the county. They would get their county health inspection done, their county license, they would get whatever they need from the state, and then they'd come to City Hall, present that paperwork, and that's it. City staff doesn't need to go do any sort of inspections, as far as I was aware, up till this point. So I'm wondering what $100 is really getting people, and whether or not we need to be charging $100 for this particular fee.
I'm gonna let Mark handle that one.
Sounds awesome, thank you.
So that fee was based on the hours we estimated for actually administering the process, so reviewing the documentation to make sure they meet all the license requirements, and then the renewal notices that we have to send out annually.
Okay. $100 is hefty. I understand that this comes in line with some other service fees we have. And I don't think anybody would be surprised by me saying I was not in favor of doing the short-term rental thing in general as when we discussed it. And I'm even less in favor of adding a fee to it for this. I won't be supporting a fee. In fact, I'll put a motion on the floor to amend 19-292 for the short-term rental fee to be 0, to be no fee for this, and see if it gets a second and further discussion or not.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was a little concerned too about a fee, and Mr. McGuire hit some points on it. I'm wondering if we shouldn't kind of follow the way we did with our special event fees. Started out at and escalate it based on, so we kind of know what's going on and maybe find out exactly how much time you spend on it. Because if everything's correct, as Councilmember Moore said, basically the paperwork's all going to be done through the county. We're basically just going to, I don't want to say carte blanche it, but not do a whole lot with it because they have to get permits through the county. I imagine there'll be a fee with the county also?
I believe so.
Yeah. So my thinking is, I think there needs to be there's staff time involved, reviewing the application, making sure it's all the Ts are crossed and Is are dotted. So I guess I'd like to see some fee. I don't really have a dollar amount in my mind, but I know that I think with the special event permits, we started at like a quarter, and then we went up 50% and 75, and then I think the fourth year was total whatever the fees were for FEMA. So I would like to see something on the books so that, we recoup some of our money, but kind of do it every third year or whatever. I don't know what other council members are thinking, just my thought. Because there's a cost for staff to work on things, so.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you guys estimate how many of these applications we're going to get, we've gotten? Just a ballpark. I'm not trying to pin you down.
Can you remind us how many are currently on the books with the county?
I believe it was less than 10.
Correct.
And with the ordinance change to the more than 16 days, it's hard to estimate how many will be impacted.
Can you just give me
A handful, likely.
a handful?
Yeah, there's probably more than that, but it's a self-reporting thing, and we're not going to be actively,
So we're not talking money here. I mean, it's,
no, it's just a matter of what the appropriate
okay.
charge is. It's not-
Would you guys be okay at starting this at $25? I mean,
We can always start there. I mean, we can always evaluate it after a year. Somebody can evaluate after a year. And
Not your
I want to be clear, though. If you guys aren't happy with the $25, let us know. I mean,
I think it's a reasonable request to see exactly how much time that goes into these. Different municipalities charge different amounts. So we kind of looked at what the average was. We're on the very low end of it, just estimating the amount of staff time for the review. That's how we selected, but a lower amount to get started and see exactly how much staff time is going into these is a reasonable thought.
thank you.
Councilmember Krause.
I think I'm going to kind of echo everybody else. I mean, I don't know how much time goes into this, but I mean, from past experience, is it about how long? I mean, it's a couple pieces of paper you're going to go over, right?
Yeah, I mean, a review shouldn't take more than the initial review, depending upon the completeness application. Generally, the way we state these fees is because usually no one brings everything they need the first time. So there's that discussion back and forth, okay, here's what you have, here's what you're missing. They go back, there's a second trip where they come down, we go through the rest of the documentation. So the fee is somewhat in line with knowing that generally we don't get compliance on these type of things immediately, and there's a longer staff involvement to get them where they need to be to get the actual license issued. And then the staff time of generating the letters, sending out the letters, covering that cost as well. That's how we try to estimate these fees.
The popular term, the popular term around town is the money grab. This could be classified as one of those, and we just don't like that perception. So I would be in support of a lower fee as well, if that's possible.
Understand.
It's not
Thank
built
you.
into the budget, so it's not going to have any
Yeah.
major negative impact. If council wants to throw out another number,
Well,
So
first,
we,
did Mr. Mugar get a second on?
that's
No,
what I
we
was just going to
didn't.
say. We have
No,
a
we
motion,
didn't.
we don't have a second.
so
I'll second that. I'll second his motion.
his was to go to zero.
Oh, okay, I won't
So
second that.
maybe.
Come up with a reasonable number.
So do you want to withdraw your second?
I'll
Or
withdraw my
amend it.
second.
Would Mr. Mugar like to amend his original?
If the mayor
Deputy
would,
Mayor Herman.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to look at just what we got here in our information. I'll throw out the number, conditional use permit, recording fee, and that's kind of what we're doing here initially, is recording what they are giving and then issuing the permit. That proposed fee is $40, so I guess I'll make a motion to make the short-term rental fee $40 and have a review the first year to see where we're at, and if it's justified to raise the fee, well, then fees can come back to council for review. So my motion would be to short-term rental fee currently is none, it would be a proposed fee of $40.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Excuse me, Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you. So I think I hit the button before Deputy Mayor had suggested $40, but I guess that's closer to what I was thinking. My question to staff was going to be is, do we know what position actually was going to be evaluating? And then it would make sense to look at that hourly rate and figure on average it would take 60 to 120 minutes to review that, which I think would give us a rate. Because what we certainly don't want to do is, I think 25 may be a little bit too low, 40 maybe on the mark, but that was just a thought, is taking a look at what the position is, what the hourly rate is, say even 90 minutes of time, and I think that would help us figure out what a fee would be.
No, because it would be a blended position. Any assistant planner could be looking at it, a principal planner could be looking at just who's intaking it.
So it's not like a designated situation like, say, Kathy Snell with the special events fees?
No, we would just be using whatever staff member was readily available to help them, so we could serve them as soon as they came to the counter.
Because as you know, in your area,
There's a range.
there's a range when it comes to pay. So I guess, do we feel that $40 is adequate to cover, say, 60 to 90 minutes a time?
I would think so.
I think we're going to have probably 5 months of data to present when we get to the budget season as well, so we'd be able to update that. So even this
Sure.
might be temporary until January of 2020, once we have a little data behind us.
Yeah, absolutely, because the fee was intended to be implemented on August 1st, intentionally after EAA, to really start the educational process. Quite honestly, I'm just going to just disagree with Alan and say, I don't think we're going to be looking at this again until 2021, because by the time we implement the fee, we're not going to have any data for council in October at budget time, because we will just be doing the educational process. Doesn't that?
Correct, yeah, with the implementation date set the way it is, this will really be something for next year's rental season that we'll be starting to deal with.
So you probably, the earliest you'd see us is October of 20, and that's probably the very earliest.
I only brought it up because I'm just thinking out loud to the process, because again, I think there's something, I think 100 is a little bit on the high end, and I think 0 is a great suggestion, but I'm not sure one that would fly necessarily.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I guess I'm just wondering about the other communities that you reviewed in regards to their fee and how that rationally used came out into being
So,
what you proposed.
$100 would be equivalent to like what the city of Green Bay does. They have a very similar process to what Oshkosh has established. Ashwaubenon is considerably higher. They're in the $500 or more range for a short-term rental. So during our research, there was a very large scale between the high end and the low end.
Okay, and how long have they been managing that ordinance?
Green Bay's been for about 3 years. Ashwaubenon is a similar time frame. When the state law changes really took place is when Ashwaubenon instituted their short-term rental program that has the current fee structure.
Okay, and did they straight up do a straight fee right away, or did they graduate to a fee?
I can speak to Green Bay. I know they did a straight fee immediately.
Okay.
Ashwaubenon, I'm not sure.
And those are definitely some different sized communities than Oshkosh as well. So, okay, that's all I had, thank you.
So we have a motion to amend the conditional use permit.
Nope,
The short-term rental unit fee from 100 to 40. We have a second. Does anyone else have anything else to discuss on this? Can we please call the roll?
Mugrower?
Aye.
Rousey?
Aye.
Heschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay. back
Madam
to
Mayor, now we need to vote on
The amended motion.
The amended motion. So we're going to vote on 19-292 as amended. Approve cleaning services fee schedule.
So, on the same on the same path that we just took for the short-term rental fee? Is that, because what I'm understanding is that this is also a new fee as well, correct?
Sorry.
The conditional use recording fee?
That's.
The CUP.
Yeah, it's a new fee this year. It actually was, it came in with our code change on the ordinance. So the intent of the fee is every time you get a conditional use permit, it gets recorded at the county. So when the property changes hands, the new
There's
prospective
communication.
property owner understands that there's a conditional use permit on the property. The recording cost at the county is at least $30. So we put $40 on there just to cover us. We could have put higher, but we didn't want to keep, the conditional use permit is already, I think, sitting at, what is it, $375. So we didn't want to continue, creep it up any higher than that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so we'll now vote on 19-292 as amended.
Correct. Mugrower?
Aye.
Krause?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Okay. And I believe the clerk has a list of citizens who'd like to speak on 19-309.
Yes, we do. Nancy Taylor, 730 Power Street.
Seems in order. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am here simply as I'm here as a resident of this city. Very excited for a new era in city government and want to support the mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Margie Davy, 885 Portside Court.
Hi. You're probably all aware that this is the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote. This is, I will connect this up, I promise you. The Equal Rights Amendment, there's 2 facts you need to know. The Equal Rights Amendment calls for absolute gender equality, and it was passed in Congress in 1972. However, it's never been ratified by the 38th state, so it's still not law. Did you know that? Didn't you assume we had an Equal Rights Amendment? It has a tremendous impact on things like court cases where women are involved. That's one thing. Wisconsin did ratify it in 1972, by the way. We are a good state. The second fact is that I just looked at my good friend internet, and I looked at some stats. And in the United States, there are 97 males for every 100 females. In Wisconsin, there are 99 males for every 100 females. And in Winnebago County, there are 101 males for every 100 females, not emails, females. I found this relevant because if you break that down, that's pretty much 1-to-1 across the board, right? I think it's important that the new appointments that were made, that we recognize the fact that out of those 10 new appointments, 5 of them are female and 5 of them are male. So we are striving for gender equality, whether it was intentional or not. I doubt it was. I think it was based on what people's interests are and what they're good at. But I can't help but notice also that we do have the same proportion here with our city staff. You guys are elected, so we can't do anything about that. But and at any rate, I would like to commend the council for moving Oshkosh toward citizen representation that mirrors the population of our city. So thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Engel, 910 Cozy Lane.
Well, I have been kind of confused by this process. I haven't seen this with past mayors in the history of shaking up all the councils like this. People that have been let go or terminated in a way that I didn't agree with, I thought there was pretty much a generic letter that was sent out. And typically I like to see some involvement with the council too. I know I was told by the mayor that it's her discretion. And that's just exactly what she's been telling people. It's my discretion. I think it's wrong too. I think there's a lot of people that have done this, put a lot of time, a lot of resources, and they've been hurt. And a lot of them been slapped in the face, and I feel it for a few good friends. So in this case, I don't know what the agenda is. I'll be watching because I have a feeling they're being handpicked. Some of these people that are coming on here are obviously very good friends of hers, and I'm sorry, I'm just very disappointed, and I don't agree with it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb Martin, 164 Wildwood.
A couple weeks ago, I was at the city council meeting when I listened to 14 people that wanted to fill the seat of one vacancy for our council. And I was honored to be here and listen to the wonderful people that wanted to come and to share their time and efforts on behalf of our city. One of the things I heard from people sitting on the council was they were glad to see the diversity. And when they made their decision, they said the people that were there to put in to be on boards and commissions. And my thought when I left the meeting that night was, I hope that that's what happens. We have, as was stated earlier, the 50-50 men and women in our city and in our county. We need to have a little more diversity on the council ourselves if we choose as electorate people to do it. But the boards and commissions are a great way. I didn't know there was 200 people that can serve on boards and commissions, but I started researching after coming to the last meeting. And I noticed that there were a few openings, and I applied for one of them, and I didn't get it because there's only 12 openings, but that's okay. What I was excited to hear was that the council is considering, in fact, to have more diversity. At least we need to start with the boards and commissions is a great place to be, besides on the people that are serving us. So I'm excited to see, yes, some people, that means some of us older people, will not be able to continue in maybe a position we had before, but if I'm not on one of those positions, so maybe I shouldn't speak that way, but just to say, yeah, sometimes we have to make room to let someone else, young, old, just with different views, and maybe try a different position ourselves at another time and serve in that way for our city. I'm excited for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Johnson, 1816 North Main Street.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Alicia Johnson, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm here as an Oshkosh resident and homeowner to voice support for Resolution 19-309. When I voted for Lori Palmieri and she became the first elected woman mayor of Oshkosh, I felt excited about the change I was confident she would bring. I am proud to say that I voted for someone who is following through and acting upon what was promised during her campaign and her plan for her first 100 days as mayor. Change is not always easy, but it's time for Oshkosh leaders to actively listen to new voices and to understand how residents from diverse and minoritized demographics are experiencing our city differently than those making city decisions, and how we can all take action to make a better city for everyone to work, live, and play. By appointing new and more diverse voices to boards and commissions, Mayor Palmieri has given the council a chance to understand new and different perspectives and lived experiences. I sincerely hope and humbly request that the council accepts this needed opportunity and continues to support the diversification of positions of power in Oshkosh. I once again reiterate my support for Mayor Palmieri's appointments to the boards and commissions under Resolution 19-309. I look forward to the positive change to be made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mouche Subowa. I apologize if I pronounce that wrong.
We're okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you. Just like the last presenter, I'm in support of this resolution. In the past few years or months, I've had an opportunity to be in this chamber, and I've had an opportunity to speak to some of you off the record, and I've had an opportunity also to listen to some of you on the record. And each time I listened, you spoke about the need of bringing new voices on the table. That means either on the city council or being on the commissions. Where I come from, we have a special word for that. We call it imbizo. That is the calling. The calling today is a group of 10 members are going to join the city in various positions in a commission. I feel, and I do believe that, I don't know those individuals, but I think the call that you've been calling for has been answered. And it's time we support these individuals. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have no further individuals registered.
Okay. So we'll need a motion and a second on 19309. Councilmember Peschel?
That was on from the
sorry.
last time.
Deputy Mayor Herman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to separate the vote. I'd like to.
We need to move the resolution
Needs
first.
a motion and a second.
A motion and
resolution.
a
Oh, all
second
right.
first.
I'll make a motion. Would-
Second?
Discussion. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, now it's on the floor. I'd like to separate the votes. I'd like to go ahead and approve the reappointments to the different boards and commissions that the mayor has proposed. And then I'd like to have a discussion on the new appointments. I guess A would be to approve the reappointments, and B, to have a discussion on the new appointments.
We need a second.
I'll
Second.
second.
Go ahead, Matt.
Discussion. Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you. So I just wanted to get clarification. So, Mr. Herman, are you asking for, like, each individual to discuss before voting, or discussion before looking at each one? Just so council understands.
Well, I think we need to have a discussion in general to how the new appointments came about, when did council find out about them, some of the information that was provided to council. You know, we just got some of that today on these people, and just kind of what are some of the reasons to some of the changes.
So do we want to have that discussion first?
No, I'd like to
Oh, okay.
do the reappointment as one separate vote, kind of like we did with the consent agenda, where we took some things out. Approve the reappointments so we don't have to worry about that discussion, and then just have a discussion on the new appointments.
Okay, I understand.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I want to seek clarification because I get A, the approval of the reappointments, but B, it's just what you're explaining to me is not complete, I think. You're talking about a discussion. Is that suggestive that there's going to be votes taken on those as well, or are we just discussing those appointments and the process? What's the end game?
Well, the end game would be to appoint the citizen to those different boards that are the new appointments. I have some concerns about qualifications of some of the appointments and why some people were not renewed who have qualifications beyond those boards.
Okay, so then I just want to offer what I perceive to be a friendly amendment to what you're suggesting, Deputy Mayor Herman.
Sure.
I think what you're trying to say is that you want to split 309 into two different types of resolutions to be taken consideration into. A would be the reappointments, and B would be the new appointments.
That's correct.
Correct?
Mhm.
All right, so just so that we understand that. Would that be acceptable to you?
That's what I had said.
My interpretation.
That was,
I didn't interpret it that way, so.
Yep.
All right, just making sure.
okay.
Thank you.
So any further discussion on dividing approval of reappointments as A and discussion of new appointments as B? No. Councilmember Peschel?
Sure. So this is my second go-around on the council, and so I've gone through a couple processes of appointing members, and it has not been uncommon for the mayor to appoint people whose terms were up and to appoint other new people in those positions. I specifically remember former Mayor Esslinger doing that in his first term. And so I don't necessarily see that there's a concern with changing that process, which I feel that this is where we're going with that. I believe it's one of the duties that the mayor has that was when we changed the form of government, that we maintained that type of, I guess, so to say, authority to that person who oversees the council. I think I'm going to vote no on this to amend this resolution, because I think it's also important to recognize that the mayor was elected to fill those positions. And in that time that I was on the council in those 4 years, I never once was approached by the mayor to ask my opinion of who should sit on those appointments prior to the meeting where we took the appointments. Now, that doesn't say that the process shouldn't be a little bit more open and could be a little bit more open, because transparency is important. But I believe that this is the process that it has been followed for several years. And I believe that there's always been the ability for a mayor to choose who should be reappointed or who should be newly appointed to the boards and commissions that represent the path that the city of Oshkosh partakes. So in this case, I feel that this is something that we should take up as a whole and should not split. So I'll be voting no.
Councilmember Krause.
I'm going to echo what Mr. Peschel's saying. We had an election in April. The highest vote total ever for a woman happened on the council seats, percentage-wise. We elected our first female mayor. Around the whole country, everybody's at the table now or getting farther along that should be there. The people that she's putting forward for appointments, I did my own research. I was a little disappointed we didn't have the names on Friday, because it would have been nice to have the weekend to look at it, but I guess that was kind of a misstep. But I did my own research. I looked up everybody. I did the research on social media. People have master's degrees, PhDs. They're all very qualified for the position of these committees, as in just a good citizen of Oshkosh that wants to partake in the process. So I don't see anybody unqualified. Everybody brings something to the table. When I first came to council, I'm a UAW factory worker. We don't have one of those. We've never had one in like 40 years. I looked back, we haven't had anything. And I think I've brought a lot to the table, as other people up here have brought things to the table in their previous experience in their life. So I'll be also saying no to this to separate. Thank you.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you. So the conversation has certainly taken a different turn than I would have anticipated. I would have thought that we would be strictly talking about boards and commission appointments and not some other items. But, I guess my question is, which I don't know, is, again, Ms. Martin had pointed out, and she's absolutely correct, we had talked about in hopes that we had a great array of applications that came in for the council seat. What I can't, I guess, comment on is whether or not any of those 14, other than Mike Ford, who had a great presentation and currently, I believe, serves on Plan Commission, did any of those other applicants submit an application for boards and commissions? That I don't know, and I can't speak to that. I would hope that they did, and if they did, that they certainly would have been in consideration. Obviously got some feedback because I think in past, I know some have commented that there may have been discussions or some type of, knowledge before maybe receiving a letter. So there was some concerns that did come across, at least my email, over the holiday weekend. And, with that, I would say, it's not necessarily that whether anybody's qualified or not qualified. I think we have a number of people that do that. I think where my confusion came in, it was 2 weeks ago at our council meeting, we had talked about alternates. And I thought that was the direction that we were going, that obviously it makes sense to fill those that maybe wanted to move on or had retired, or maybe perhaps, just felt that they had put in their time of volunteering for the city. I wasn't ever aware, other than I believe somebody had brought up the point of Mayor Esslinger, I think had made some changes in a similar manner, but that typically in the past, if somebody has wanted to serve and they've been a good contributor and there's not extenuating circumstances, that they would go forward. And that's where I guess I was on the track 2 weeks ago that we were going to have alternates and therefore mentor some of those that maybe applied that, there weren't people that were looking to exit their seats. So, I think it's worth discussion. I don't really think this is, a situation where there's not people necessarily qualified. I think there just was maybe some communication and some confusion. And so, we just, I think, need to work through that process tonight.
Anyone else? Councilmember Miller.
Unless I'm mistaken, we have 2 individuals that would like to remain on boards that you've asked to step down or replace. Is that accurate? Has anybody heard from anybody else? It's just 2?
Councilmember McGrower.
From my knowledge, there's at least 1 extra, so I think it's 3.
So I guess to kind of move this along, I have some concerns about the process, but more importantly, I have concerns about people's privacy and other things. So if you don't mind telling me who that third is, I know I have Bone and Kaufman. If we could pull out those 3, or those 2 along with yours, and approve the rest of this. Can I offer that as a motion as well? Can we have multiple motions out there?
Right now, we have A
No.
for approving reappointments, B for discussion of new appointments. So are you offering a C?
I am offering a C, yes.
And a C would mean,
A C that we would leave the others on the consent agenda, pull out Bone, Kaufman, and in the third, and,
That'd be Benedict.
okay.
I think for the clerk to keep things in order, if we could vote on the
Sorry.
first motion
Okay.
and then come
Have
back with
another.
the second, otherwise it's going to get
My apologies.
confused for the minutes.
all right, so the initial vote will be to approve the reappointments as is, correct?
The first vote is to divide the issue into A, the reappointments, and B, the new appointments. So it's just whether you want to divide that issue.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question? I got my light on.
Councilmember Krause.
So, just to clarify, if there's resistance against the people that are being put up for appointment, the people that were on the committees before, as a council minus the mayor, we don't have that jurisdiction to put those people back up. It's the mayor's duty to appoint. If they vote down these people, the mayor's job is not to put the people back on that were on before. She doesn't have to do that.
Correct.
So it's not our.
You can approve or not approve her appointments.
Yep.
But you can't, like, amend the resolution to put Lynn Lawrence
Exactly.
on that committee. The mayor makes the appointments and the council.
So we will always be voting her appointees, not our
Correct.
handpicked people.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the motion now is to divide into A and B. We have a second. We'll vote on dividing the issue. Can you please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
No.
Peschel,
No.
Miller,
Aye.
Ellison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
No.
carried 4-3.
So it's divided. Now we will vote on A for approval of the reappointments.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have one question. Actually, it's for you, Madam Mayor. Through the process, can I assume you reached out to the individuals or through the council, through the board chairs, reached out with staff to confirm that these individuals wanted to be reappointed and that they replied in the affirmative?
So if council will recall, on the 16th of April, we had a discussion about reappointments as an item. We had a discussion about new appointments as an item. At that point in time, it was indicated that those whose terms were expiring could express their interest in being reappointed, but that was not automatic and guaranteed. For new appointments, we explained the process, which is you can either apply through a hard copy or through the online portal. Most of these new applications came in through the online portal. A copy goes to the city manager's office and is then forwarded to the mayor and to the staff liaison. I reached out through a variety of means, phone, email, staff liaison, and to individuals as well as the chairs with what we had to work with there. Keep in mind, this is, again, the most response that we have had for citizen appointments to boards and commissions. Over 15 new applications came in, which is more than we received in the last 2 years. In 6 weeks, we received those. So the process was to gather the list of those who had expressed interest. Not everybody had responded, but keep in mind that there are term expirations for a reason. These are not lifetime appointments. This is not the Supreme Court. And so terms expire to create other openings for new people. It is not a reflection of anyone's performance. It's not an exact science. And I worked very hard on this along with staff and with chairs. So if you're questioning whether or not time was spent and due diligence was spent, the answer is yes. And it is a judgment call as to which of those terms expire to make room at the table for new appointments.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
We need to vote on a.
Call the question?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right. Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before we proceed with Part B of this, if the council would be so kind, I'd like to pull the appointment to the library board off of this particular resolution and do it separately, so the discussion can take place separately, as that would be my spouse who is up for appointment. And while I probably should vote for her, I think in the for transparency and for the sake of just the having faith in the system, I will not be voting or discussing that potential appointment.
Madam Mayor, if I might suggest, we could make the library board B1.
B1.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So,
Sorry. Mr. Muger, I want to thank you for making that tough decision of not voting for your wife. I know how hard it is.
you have to
but-
go home this evening.
But
I
it is
do.
it is the appropriate decision, so thank you for doing that.
I just want to let you know I do have a spare bedroom.
Appreciate that.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. To move the process along a little bit, I'd like to make B2 amendment, to go ahead with the appointments of the new appointments, the Housing Authority. We already separated the library. the Long Range Finance Committee, the Public Arts and Beautification, Rental Housing Advisory Board, and Sustainability Advisory Board, and approve them as the appointments that the mayor has brought forward to be voted on.
Councilmember Peschel.
So Deputy Mayor Herman, are you asking to add those to the existing motion on the floor? Or are you asking for a separate?
Well, it'd be a separate motion, B2, separating out, because we've already separated out the library to vote separately, and I think we can go ahead and vote on the other ones as the mayor put out there as an appointment.
Councilmember Herman, for us, could you just run through your list one more time to make sure we got
With the
it
names,
correct?
please.
The new appointments that I have no objection to, and I don't know if anybody else does, but is the Housing Authority, the Long Range Finance Committee, Public Arts and Beautification Committee, the Rental Housing Advisory Board, and the Sustainability Advisory Board.
Thank you.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
And I would like to add to the support of the new appointment of Committee on Aging.
Which one?
To accept that?
Was there two or one?
There's
And
one.
aging, just one.
One.
Is that- so that's gonna be B3?
All right, so we're,
Just for clarification, hold on. Is this B3?
B2. She wants
I was
to add
adding,
B2.
I was asking if I could add it to Deputy Mayor Herman's list of new appointments to support, in addition to.
I think we
those.
need to vote on B1 first.
I would feel better.
Let's vote on B1 first and take this one segment at a time.
Thank you.
All right? So that is for amending the new appointments to remove the library appointment, separate the library appointment from the remaining new appointments.
It would actually just be, you don't need the motion to separate them, so it would just be approval of the appointment to the library board. So you're voting to approve the appointment to the library board.
But we haven't agreed that we're separating out the new appointments. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah,
We divided
It was
the
4-3.
reappointments.
No, we're on the new.
Sorry, you are right. We didn't take that vote yet.
All
So
right.
we're voting to
Separate
separate the library.
the library.
Got it.
All right, anybody else? Please call the roll on B1.
Mugrower,
This is separating, not voting for.
Dividing it.
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
Now if we can actually
Now
take
we're-
B1 up
Vote it.
and vote on that.
That's just removing the library,
That is just approving that single appointment
Okay.
to the library.
approving
Approving
the library as
the
a
library
single vote.
appointment.
Okay.
Please take the roll.
A motion.
We have the motion, we need a motion and
I'll make a
second.
motion to approve the library board appointment.
Second.
Discussion. Can we please take the roll on that?
Mugrower,
Present?
Rousey,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-1 present.
Before we move on to B2, I did receive word just before the meeting that one of our applicants' residency is in question, and that is an appointment to the Parks Advisory Board, a new appointment to the Parks Advisory Board. And so we'll need to put a hold on that application until we can confirm residency, because it may or may not be within the city limits.
Yeah.
So we need to have a motion for separating the Parks Advisory Board new appointment on that basis.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
So the question at hand is whether that new appointee's address is
Is within the city limits.
Can we find that out right away?
Does not appear to be.
I think it'd be more appropriate to talk to that person and confirm their residency,
Okay.
in case the address was
Typed on or
inadvertently typed up, yeah.
Okay.
So we can look at that in 2 weeks and just table that
So we'll
one.
table that.
Right.
After you separate it, that would probably be the appropriate thing to do.
All right, so that would remove PA, or Parks Advisory Board, from B2. So we need to vote on separating that. Can you please call the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
I move to lay over what we're referring to as B2, the appointment to the Parks Advisory Board until the next council meeting to confirm residency.
Second.
Discussion. Please call the roll.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, so was that then considered B2, and now we're
Yes.
changing the other one to B3? All
Yes.
right. So B3 is to vote on separation of Housing Authority, Long Range Finance, Rental Housing Advisory Board, Sustainability Advisory Board, and Committee on Aging,
And
And Public Arts.
and Public Arts.
Mhm.
And I now need to introduce a letter that came in at the last moment from one of the, no, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. So we should amend B3 to reflect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those 6.
So package the rest minus the Plan Commission, correct?
So the
Everything
plan
that's
commission's
left
going to be the
over.
only one that we're going to have discussion on.
Minus the Plan Commission.
Yep.
Correct.
So that needs amended, so we need a motion to amend B3.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All right, well, please take the roll on B3 as amended.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
All right, so B4 will be the new appointments to the Plan Commission only, correct? Is that where we're at?
Don't we need to vote on B3 itself? That was just a split off.
We just separated that from the Plan Commission.
Are you going to vote on?
You should vote on it.
Yeah.
Just take
Okay,
care of it first.
we'll go back to B3 and vote on that then. All right.
I move to approve what we're referring to as B3, everything else but the Plan Commission.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we've had a brief discussion already, and we're going to continue that discussion for a little bit here, I think. But I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to every single one who's applied to boards and commissions, those that came last meeting and had applied to be on the council and had subsequently turned in applications to join our boards and commissions, which I think every single one of us implored them to do. So they need to be told thank you for doing so. Serving on boards and commissions, while it is a thankless job, and many hours go into it. There's plenty of individuals who have served many, many years and thoroughly enjoyed their time, and for that, I'm very grateful for them helping make Oshkosh a better place to live, work, and play. So I just wanted to say thank you to those individuals who have applied and potentially are being appointed, and to encourage more to continue to apply. Apply even if there's not an opening. You never know when there might be one.
All right, so are we good on B3? All right, can we please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
I move to approve what's referred to as B4, the Plan Commission appointment.
Second.
Discussion? Deputy Mayor Herman?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. The mayor does have the authority to appoint applicants to all the boards and commissions that she feels is appropriate. I guess I just have some transparency issues because ultimately the mayor makes the appointment with council approval. But some of the people that did not get appointed or were not reappointed received letters prior to this meeting that they were no longer on their board or commission. We didn't vote on it. The mayor can make the appointment, but then the council has to act on it. So it's like, why are you sending a letter out with no explanation that you are now no longer on your board or commission? I think, as Mr. Ingles said, it's kind of a slap in the face to the people that are serving those boards for not at least having a reason. And I do have a problem with a little bit with the Plan Commission because Mr. Bowen has been on the Plan Commission, I believe, for 2 terms. 5, thank you, thank you, and has a background in it. The candidate that the mayor picked, and I'm not picking on her by any means, has 0 background. Her background is in the health department and a health educator. Plan Commission is one of the most important boards and commissions this council has. And it's very, very important to have that expertise, listening to our department staff, listening to developers coming in, listening to proposals, and making decisions. And I guess I just, she talked about criteria. What was the criteria to make such a significant change on one of our most important boards with someone that has a health background? Now, we talked about alternates, as Councilmember Allison Osby talked about, and that's the direction I thought we were going with a lot of the new candidates, so that they could sit in on the board meetings, listen to what's going on. If there wasn't a quorum, they'd be able to vote. If someone stepped down, they would probably be able to move right into that appointment, and we would continue to move in the direction we were going. And I think the process, there was no process. We did not get the applications till today, this morning, other than what came in our council packet, which was, these are what we are voting on. And I just think that we needed to have a little more time. And I do think that the people that received letters should not have received letters till after today's vote. And then they should have been given some information to, you've served 5 terms and we want to go in a different direction, or whatever it might be. But it's not fair to those citizens and to the candidate for the Plan Commission is already on a board. We talked about having more people on boards and commissions. Now she'll be on 2, and the other gentleman won't be on any. Is that fair? I just think that the process was not smooth, it wasn't transparent, we didn't have good enough information. I know the terms have expiration dates, and tonight was their last meeting of it, but I think, I'm looking, and again, this is not a knock, because this came after our last council meeting, and the people, as Mr. Mugrower said, did take the time, did apply, but a lot of the applications came in on the 17th of May, the 19th of May, the 21st of May. Some are earlier, obviously, which is good. So those folks that were interested in getting the appointed council seat took the next step to get on our boards and commissions. But like I said, it appears the discussion on alternate positions is dead in the water.
Councilmember Krause.
A couple points to first touch on Deputy Mayor Herman's position. I don't really know when there is a good time to thank these people for their service. I mean, it wouldn't be after they see their names not being renominated again or reappointed, so I don't really know when a good time would have been. Like the mayor said, it's not a lifetime position. 10 years is a long time. I mean, 10 years ago, we elected new members to council that are, some of them are still sitting up here, and they were part of that change of the good stuff happening in Oshkosh. And in the last 4 or 5 years, other stuff has been happening, and myself and Mayor Palmieri has come on, and then after that, Mr. Mugarow were here. So, I mean, change is hard and change is scary sometimes, but change is inevitable, and usually there's good stuff that comes out of change. Making people uncomfortable sometimes is the way we have to do it. I looked at Ms. Erickson's resume and Mr. Mitchell's. I mean, Ms. Erickson, she has a degree from UW-Madison. She's working on her master's. I'm guessing people would like to see that as representation. She's also a female. She's a millennial. So as a plan commission person, we're trying to attract these kind of people. So, I mean, that's the kind of person we want. As for Mr. Mitchell, I mean, I know he has a family here. He works for the Housing Authority. He's got a master's of science in education leadership. That's the kind of people we want. So, I mean, to say that they're not qualified isn't true. It's just that people don't want these people on because they want the status quo. They want the same people that have been on for years. And that's where we've had conflicts in the last month. Thank you.
Councilmember Mugarar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I heard a few things earlier, actually, when Madam Mayor, you spoke to the overall appointment process that you went through. One, not a reflection of performance, and two, also new voices and new ideas. And I guess I want to touch on both of those just briefly. New voices and new ideas, couldn't agree more that those things are always needed, whether on council every April or whether on our boards and commissions. Diverse and well-educated and just authentic and willing to help people are great, and I want more of them, and if we had more spots on boards and commissions, I'd be suggesting we approve them left and right, and that's where I thought the process was going to go as well, with the addition or possible additions of some alternates. But I've said it before, I've said it up here in council, I've said it in strategic plan sessions, I've said it in numerous meetings, the process is important. And this particular process was completely mishandled, unfortunately. It is just bad management overall. It shows a lack of management experience or a lack of experience in dealing with people when you treat somebody with this type of disrespect. That you've got members of Plan Commission, you've got members of Parks Board, you've got members, even other boards, who've served anywhere from 1 term to 5 terms. This is several years of service to their community, no pay, no benefits, taking time away from work, taking time away from family, in service of their community. And to receive a letter preemptively, as Deputy Mayor Herman has pointed out, thanking them for their service and advising them that their service was no longer needed, is rude and just shows a lack of respect for those who we are hoping will continue to help move this city forward and continue the progress that we have had. And so to just not reach out, to not inform staff, to allow staff to have those conversations or to be a part of that process is a bit disheartening and discouraging. And I don't know if I was sitting in the audience that I would want to put in an application tonight to be on a board or commission, knowing that that's the potential for how I could potentially be treated in the future. Obviously, I know these appointments, they do have an expiration date, and it is fully within the mayor's role to appoint. It is fully within the council's discretion to not approve those appointments as well.
Will you yield? We have 2 more members who would like to speak.
No, I still have my time, so if I can finish up.
You have 1 minute left.
So with that said, a reminder that process is important, as well as the people themselves, and showing respect for those that have been a part of the process and part of this government for a very long time. So to me, from me to them, thank you for your service, whether you're continuing service or not, thank you. To those that have been appointed or will be potentially still appointed, thank you for your interest as well. and hopefully there's better management going forward.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo the fact that thank you all for applying for these positions. It's amazing. The turnout is amazing. I want to be clear my position. I think there's zero transparency issues. I think the process is what we kind of need to talk about. The mayor did everything correct within her purview. I just think that we, as a council, probably have to come up with a better process of maybe talking to the chairs, who's invested, things like that. And yes, things could have been handled better by several people, not just the mayor. So there's enough blame to go around here for everybody. I think the big thing is we all agree this needs to get better. This process needs to get better. We need to treat these people with the respect that they deserve, and I don't think the mayor was disrespectful. I think she's got a 100-day plan, and I think she's got her own feet to the fire. So, I think we're probably going to approve over 90% of her appointments tonight, and that's wonderful. This is all good stuff. Yeah, is the process a little ugly? Does it get a little hairy every now and then? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think there was a transparency issue. I think there was a miscommunication issue on several parties. So thank you for your time.
All right, since everybody else has had a turn, I'm going to weigh in on something right now, just to remind council that it is not for council to make a determination if I do not reappoint someone. It is only for council to approve new appointments. Just a reminder. Councilmember Osby.
Thank you. And I appreciate that comment, Mayor Palmieri. I think, too, there also needs to be something to be said that sometimes we're also, as council and elected members of the community, that sometimes we have to carry a message from those that also communicate to us, which then sometimes comes across as, as we're kind of the bearer of the bad news, or don't kill the messenger. So I think we also need to separate that out, as we have a responsibility to communicate and to talk through it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's challenging. So, I guess my question would be is, in regards to Plan Commission, obviously there's two people. One of the individuals I currently serve on a board with and is very participatory. The other person, I don't know, at least during my time, I don't think they've served on a board or committee, but just through community interaction is also obviously a good candidate. So I guess, my question would be is is there a way, Mayor, I guess, if you had somebody that reaches out to you and says that they would really like to continue serving in some capacity, that you would consider, and again, go back to what we talked to 2 weeks ago, in which we would have, alternates that could be mentored or could learn, is that a good, I guess, way to kind of bring a community together of, those that maybe, have served for a while, in addition to those that want to participate, is a mentoring program, which, when we talked about it 2 weeks ago, is that something that's a fair compromise? So when it comes to the board and commissions, I'm only aware of one of those seats that would like to be retained, and my understanding from other members is that they would. Is that something that you would consider replacing one and having one as an alternate? It's just a suggestion, and it's not something that we have to vote on tonight, but just a suggestion.
So certainly anyone who has had a term expire may put in an application for another board or commission or the same. We are visiting the alternate discussion separately in June. And later on this agenda, we'll be talking about bringing a study back that was done in 2017 regarding boards and commissions. Perhaps there's room in that workshop to have some future discussions on the full study of the boards and commissions. Perhaps there may be some interest in looking at adding alternates, but the way that we left that issue was that we would give time to each of those boards and commissions to put it on their agenda for discussion regarding whether they would like to add alternates. And to date, I'm only aware of one, which is Rental Housing Advisory, that voted to add 2 alternates, and that will be coming to council as well. So it's 2 separate issues, and certainly someone whose term has expired may apply for another board and commission or the same one, and be put into the applicant pool as well. Councilmember Allison Osby.
Okay. And 2 weeks ago, I guess I walked away kind of questioning which direction we were going on, because I don't know if all 7 of us were on the same page, but that's fine, that's great. I think that's definitely a discussion worth having. You know, just, I think a suggestion so that there's maybe potentially not down the road, you know, miscommunication or, you know, perhaps, you know, hurt feelings of those that have been dedicated and have served is, you know, maybe perhaps if there's some questioning or maybe a desire to go in a different direction. You know, most of us serve on the boards and commissions that are listed, and certainly, you know, I would say, you know, anybody, whether it's staff or whether it's Mayor Palmieri, could certainly use the council liaisons, maybe perhaps, you know, also as a sounding board. Again, ultimately, the discretion does go to the mayor, but maybe perhaps that would help in some of the communication, as well as, you know, let that, you know, particular council liaison maybe just have that discussion or a tough discussion with that board member.
Thank you, Councilmember Allison Osby. And I will just reiterate that when those applications come in to the city manager's office, a copy is sent to the mayor and also to the staff liaison. So they did receive all these applications ahead of time, just to reiterate. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I just gathered maybe it'd be a good idea for some of these board members that if their term is coming up to reapply. Is that a better way?
They may certainly do that.
Is that what we're recommending that they do?
We're not recommending that. We are on B4, whether or not we are going to affirm the Plan Commission appointments.
No,
that have
I
been
understand
separated
that.
out.
I was just curious if that's maybe a better way to do this, so thank you.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I guess my question, I'm gonna point towards Mr. Roloff from a historical perspective on this. And I guess my understanding is that this process of which took place here isn't very different from the process that the previous mayor had taken in doing in collecting their appointments, or prior mayors.
Actually, I just want to point something else out too. I am the council member who asked for applications to start accompanying the list of appointments and reappointment, or excuse me, the new appointments. That was just very recent, just before the end of 2018. We just started receiving, as council members, the applications this year. There have been 3 meetings where that was done. There was no vetting, there was no questioning. And so that is a new process. So this mischaracterization of lack of transparency is false. Deputy Mayor Herman.
So you say that lack of transparency is false, but then I guess my question is, go back to you sent letters already where council has to approve your appointments, and you already told these people they weren't on the boards and commissions. And I guess the other part is, again, looking at the applications, and we could get them if we wanted them in the past. Yes, you were the one that brought that one forward, which I think was excellent. But that being said, looking at the criteria, I have no problem with Mr. Mitchell. His criteria meets it, but the other candidate doesn't. And I just think, as important as that commission is, Mr. Bowen should have been reappointed. And I guess I'm not the mayor, so you have that right to appoint somebody. Council has the right to approve it. But I just think that the criteria that you used or didn't use, I don't understand, because the qualifications are not there.
Councilmember Peschel.
So, last time I checked, the only real criteria that someone needed to serve on a board or a commission was that they needed to be a citizen of the city of Oshkosh. It doesn't say anything about education. It doesn't say anything about their socioeconomic status. It talks about why they want to serve and what they bring to the table to serve. That's pretty clear what those questions that they're asked to answer. What do they bring to the table that can strengthen or change or modify or adapt or the conversation that is at hand? And I think once we start going down the line of saying that this citizen's more qualified than this citizen, we start saying, well, because you don't have that master's degree, or that you're just a health educator, which the last time I checked, health educators have everything to do with how we plan our communities. Working towards a master's, we should be encouraging our community members to work to what level of education that they can sustain, not diminish that steps that they're taking. And mind you, that person is the future generation of Oshkosh. We should be up here encouraging young people to be involved in our community. And I have no concerns with those that are suggestively being replaced, because I know that they're already involved in our community and will continue to be involved in our community whether they serve. But either way we look at it, they are eligible to serve because they are citizens of Oshkosh. And what they bring to the table is their experience, their different viewpoints, just what they want and the fact that they want to serve. I believe that Oshkosh is a very serving community. And as much as people enjoy these council boards and commissions, I also think that there's other people that are just as qualified to do this. I want to come back to my question that I was trying to state, is that this process to request and to encourage people to apply has only gotten better. And yes, it's a time frame, a short time frame of which those people applied, but they still applied. And the reality is that we should be encouraging this. We should be wanting people to do this. We're not saying that they can't serve, that they can't enrich our community. We're just saying that there are other people out there that want to do it as well. So maybe we're not saying that, but I think that's what they're saying when they apply. So.
Councilmember Krause.
I'm not going to repeat everything Mr. Peschel said, but I agree with most of it. It's exciting to see so many different people come forward and apply for these positions. At the end of the day, it's just about change. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear that a person's not going to be put back on after they've served for 10 years for no monetary gain, not getting paid at all. But, I mean, they've had 10 good years, and now it's somebody else's turn possibly. So I just look at it as an opportunity to build the city and to continue the growth. So I'll be supporting these two people.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'd like to make a suggestion, because obviously we've talked about this for quite some time, and I think in the spirit of cooperation, I did suggest a compromise, which didn't seem to gain any traction. I think in order to move forward, and in the spirit of moving forward, I think we do need to vote on this. I'm sorry to see that Mr. Bowen, although I don't know him personally, obviously has been a major contributor when you look at the Planning Commission notes. If if there's not an opportunity to reappoint him and have perhaps an alternate, maybe in a couple of weeks or within the next month, then I'm going to say that I will honor the suggestion of the mayor and vote for the new appointments. And gosh, I would hope that Mr. Bowen, based on his attendance and his contribution, certainly would honor us with the privilege of serving and applying on another commission. But I think we need to move forward.
Thank you. Any further question on B4 or any further discussion on B4? I'd just like to say thank you to those applicants who have put themselves out there. We have regularly and consistently indicated that it's difficult to get people to apply. I was inspired and excited to see the number of new applicants, just again, as we had double the number in vacant council seat appointment applications and a significant number of new applications for boards and commissions. That excites me that we have that kind of desire. And so I would hope that if one's term is expiring, that again, it's not a reflection on performance. It is a request to allow more room at the table for others to participate in the city that they live in, and to share that opportunity. And I'd like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mugrower,
No.
Krause,
Aye.
Heschel,
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
No.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 4-3.
Councilmember Mugrower.
Madam Mayor, may I suggest maybe we take a brief recess? We've been going about 2 hours, and I know it looks like we have a few other things on the agenda that may take a little discussion, maybe later, maybe a 5 to 10 minute break wouldn't be out of order.
I'll
Second?
that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's meet back here at 8:05.
The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV, opening accessibility and understanding of local government, helping you to be informed and involved. Also streaming live and on demand at oshkoshmedia.org and radio simulcast on Oshkosh FM 101.9. Like us on Facebook at our Oshkosh Media page. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. Please stay with us. Coverage will resume shortly. The Oshkosh Common Council is currently in a break. For a schedule of all GovTV programming, visit our website at oshkoshmedia.org. This is GovTV.
Adjourned. The Common Council meeting, May 28th, 2019. I believe Councilmember Peschel has a motion he'd like to make.
I, at the request of citizens in the audience, I would like to amend the agenda to insert the citizen statements right now, so that they can go about their business, the citizens can go about doing what they need to do, provided they provide us a statement, and that we can continue moving forward. Looking at our agenda, there is still quite a bit of communication that we'll be doing this evening, and it might make sense to allow citizens an opportunity to speak now rather than later.
Second. If you're
Discussion? Would you please take the roll?
Mugrower?
Aye.
Krause?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
O'Meary?
Aye.
Carried 7.
And citizen statements, this will be the second opportunity for citizen statements addressing the council regarding non-agenda items.
Okay, Margie Davy, 855 Portside.
Hello, council. I'm back again. This time I'm wearing a different hat. Often when I'm in this chamber, it's in August. When I'm in this chamber with you guys, I should say, with the council present, It's in August for the Oshkosh Civility Project, because that's Civility Month in Oshkosh. I'm thinking that maybe it needs to come early this year, and I would just like to remind everyone on the council that you do have a poster up here. If you need little posters by your places, we can make that happen. Tonight, I was seeing a few tenants that I didn't think were being respected the way they should, and it's funny that I say respected, because the first one that I saw was show respect. I think that I saw a lot of respect and very careful statements from many of you. I also saw some that weren't too respectful, and I was a little disturbed by that. I think that also you might want to review the one that says be agreeable. Being agreeable doesn't mean that you have to agree with each other. It just means that you have to disagree in a polite and civil manner, and I would encourage that. I added this one at the last second on my little sheet here. Don't gossip kind of falls into here too. It's just one of those tenets. It's number 4. It's kind of my favorite because it's the one that I tend to break most often. And then I'm following one of them myself, and it's give constructive criticism. And I only bring this up because I really want our council to be respected and to work together well. And you don't all have to agree on things. You should have vital discussion. It's important to have discussion and dissent, but you do need to do it in a respectful manner. So I would just caution you all about that. And that's my little civility hat tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to pending ordinances. Ordinance 19311 approves zone change from institutional district with a planned development overlay at 913 Nebraska Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do I have a motion and a second?
No one is registered.
No one is, excuse me.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion. Would you please call the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
O'Meary,
Aye.
carried 7.
Okay, moving on to new ordinances. Ordinance 19-312 approves zone change from institutional district to institutional district with a planned development overlay, northeast corner of Pinoca Street and Rainbow Drive in Rainbow Memorial Park. Plan Commission recommends approval. Staff recommends waiving the rules. Do we have anyone registered to speak on this?
No one is registered.
And do we have a motion and a second?
Madam Mayor, I move to waive the rules and adopt 19312 on its first reading.
Second.
Councilmember Peschel?
Someone help me understand the benefit of waiving the rules.
Mr. Mauer is going to speak. It's more of a park issue than it is a zoning issue.
Okay.
Mr. Mauer, were you part of the recommendation for waiving the rules?
Yes, as this request came from our department, that was our request. A couple of reasons for asking for that waiver tonight is we do have a contractor that is ready to go on this project with the weather being so rainy. He had been delayed, but as soon as it is dry, we're ready to go, so delaying it a little bit further. Brings up the other issue is Sid Supley has been raising the money for this project, and it was her hope that prior to her leaving for college out of town that she would be able to be here for some type of opening and celebration. So we're trying to get the project moving as soon as possible as the weather permits.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mauer, well, that was your clarification.
Correct.
So now we can have discussion.
No, we had to vote on the waiving the rules.
Waiving the rules. Discussion on the motion and the second on waiving the rules.
I've
Any
got a
further
question.
discussion?
I've got a question.
Councilmember Miller.
Yeah, Ray, did you inform the neighbors that we were going to be waiving this and moving this along at all? Has there been any conversations with the immediate neighbors there?
I have not had an opportunity. The Plan Commission took it up last Tuesday, and I did not have an opportunity to contact them, so I did not.
Have you had any opposition to this at all?
At the Plan Commission, there were 3 neighbors, I believe, that spoke. Their biggest concern was parking. If you saw in the Plan Commission notes, The lights, any future lights need to come back to the Plan Commission and Common Council, so those are not approved or asked for approval at this point. So parking was the biggest concern that those three neighbors talked about. And during the Plan Commission, I did let them know that as part of the Rainbow Memorial Park Master Plan, there is additional parking planned, as well as the planning for Lakeshore Park. We know that there's going to be some additional needs for parking in that area, not only for Lakeshore, but for Rainbow Park as well.
So no opposition to the project itself, just parking was the issue?
Parking was the issue, correct.
Thank you.
I was there at the Plan Commission, and I did hear a number of neighbors concerned about the parking. And it was my understanding from speaking with staff, because I had the same question, Councilmember Miller, as to whether or not neighbors had been contacted. And it was my understanding that was going to happen before we waived the rules.
And I attempted to get out there, and I was not able to make contact.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion on waiving the rules and adopting on first reading?
Sorry.
Councilmember Peschel.
So the neighbors that we're talking about are the ones along Pinocqua, hope I said that right, in Rainbow Drive?
They were three, they're right across from the Ball Diamond on Pinocqua, I believe.
Right here. So have you had communication with those neighbors at all throughout this process?
Throughout the process on the
Yeah.
Ball Diamond?
Yep.
Yes. The Parks Board had approved this project last summer, I believe, when
Okay.
Sid came and made the presentation. I believe those same neighbors were at that meeting as well
Okay.
and spoke. So throughout the process, they were aware of it, but since the Plan Commission, no, I have not.
Okay.
All right. If there's no further discussion on waiving the rules, will the clerk please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
Next, we will adopt, okay, so that motion was also waiving the rules and adopting on the first reading. So now we'll come back to 19-312. Deputy Mayor Herman.
I move that we approve ordinance 19-312.
Second?
Discussion? Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things I noted when I watched the Plan Commission meeting, it sounded like planning staff, as well as park staff in this particular case, have identified that as part of our planning process, there may be some improvements that we might need to make in terms of city parks falling under plan development, and whether or not we should have to go through the plan development stage to do certain park improvements. I think I overheard that a little bit. If maybe you wouldn't mind addressing that, and maybe it sounded as though you might be having some discussions internally, and then maybe bringing something forward in the future to maybe improve the process for internal projects.
Correct. We need to kind of evaluate how our institutional zoning district handles some of these cases. It's a very broad zoning district that includes parks, municipal facilities, church uses, other nonprofit uses, and all of our development standards for those uses are the same across the board. Now, obviously, the type of uses you see in those are very wide, very broad. So some of the discussion we've had is how we can maybe separate out some of those uses, like parks, that have very different development pattern from what some of the other, municipal uses or church uses may be, especially when it gets to consideration of things like fencing, which is what necessitated this request.
Thank you.
Councilmember Miller.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Sid Supley. This kid did an amazing job raising funds. Ray, how much did she raise? I mean, it's unbelievable. Just ballpark.
I believe she's over $100,000.
Over 100 grand? Yeah, so this kid just did an amazing job for our community and for all the softball players out there. So hopefully she won tonight too, so.
Yeah, I hope
All right. If there's no further discussion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
so. Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
Next is new ordinance 19-313, amend various sections of Chapter 30 zoning ordinance. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
No one is registered.
All right, there will be no action on that item. Next is ordinance 19-314. Approve parking restrictions on Otter Avenue in the cul-de-sac between Lake Point Drive and Sunnybrook Drive, Custer Avenue, and Court Street. Is there anyone registered to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
Okay, and there's no action on that item as well. Moving on to new resolutions. Resolution 19-315, approve annual city licenses renewals. Anyone registered to speak on 19-315?
No one is registered.
Move to approve 19-315.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, can we please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
Resolution 19-316, approve combination Class B license Beckett's and Screwball Sports Pub. Do
No
we
one
have
is- no one is
anyone
registered.
registered?
Move to approve.
Second.
I'm sorry, no.
Discussion. Councilmember Peschel.
Sure, no discussion. I'll be voting present today because I have family members that are the proprietors of those businesses.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Present.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6, 1 present.
Resolution 19-317, approve specific implementation plan for the building additions at 913 Nebraska Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone registered to speak on this item?
Yes, we do. Devin Winter, 100 Camelot Drive.
Thank you.
Do council members have any question on 19-317? If not, I do have one, sir, Devin. This is for the construction, I believe, of the school classrooms in between the church buildings.
Correct.
Could you just let council know what your thoughts are in terms of enrollment and growth and what's anticipated, as well as, I believe we spoke at Plan Commission about anticipated traffic for pickup and drop-off?
Sure. I'm going to defer to Ben, the principal for Grace Lutheran, on answering that question.
So next year with the building project, we are anticipating an increase of 30 students. And then as far as the parking goes, we do have certain events after school and then also when parents pick up as well. It impacts the corner of Nebraska and 10th for maybe 10 to 15 minutes from 250 to 305, 310 or so. And then as far as the events that go on after school, we have basketball, volleyball, where we use the street parking. We also have a parking lot across from our property on Nebraska. And then there's also a city lot that we use as well after hours. So we do try and alleviate the parking concerns, but it's not often that we are taking up a lot of the street. So with the building project, we do anticipate growth year over year. We are projecting that in 5 years, we will be at 225 students. We currently are at 135.
So the capacity is 225.
Correct, yes.
So we'd be looking at a significant increase in that traffic pattern, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further discussion on 19-317? All right. Clerk, please take the roll.
I need a motion, please.
Oh, sorry.
moved.
Motion and
Second.
second. Discussion. And please take the roll.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 7.
Next is Resolution 19-318, approve specific implementation plan amendment for vehicle sales as 1911 West Snell Road. Plan Commission recommends approval. You need a motion and a second? Is there anyone registered to speak?
No one is registered.
All right, motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe a member of planning staff wouldn't mind coming up to the podium. And there's nobody from, the applicant's not here at all?
Correct, the applicant
Okay.
is not here tonight.
So, to get to the point, tell me why I should approve this. This particular applicant has had numerous, I think numerous is an understatement, but numerous issues with meeting compliance over the last several years, if not longer. Tell me what approving this does to help us get them in compliance, as well as just improve the overall nature of that property.
Yeah, obviously, there's been a number of issues at this site over the years, and staff and the city's legal department have been working closely with the applicant to try to come up with a plan what they feel that they can meet and continue to meet to improve the site. So we've been working with them on landscape improvements, fencing improvements, ways that we can improve what the current site situation is today. One of the reasons this project has taken so long to come forward to was that ongoing continued discussion the staff and applicant has had. So the reason that we're seeking approval of this is to kind of wipe the slate clean, start with a new approved final site plan. There's been a number of amendments and things over the year that have made it a little tricky. Things got amended on the floor. This gives us an opportunity to set expectations for the applicant of here's the site, here's what you agreed to work with us on, and we can move forward from today's date.
Okay, because the biggest thing that concerns me in your staff report is the sentence, the applicant has established a history of being unable or unwilling to follow through with conditions placed on this site related to outside storage. And I'm just wondering what actually is going to change to improve that compliance.
All I can say is the applicant has made a good faith request saying, I intend to move forward. That's why we work so closely to come up with the plan we have today.
Okay. That is my only question.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a timeline? I mean, he's been non-compliant for over 10 years.
Correct.
So did we, I might have missed it?
Yep, the final condition placed on this request is the applicant come into full compliance with the approved plan within 180 days.
And after that, then what? Do we condemn it and
If
get
there
rid of
are
the junk?
if there are outstanding issues, then we would go through the violation process.
Okay. Because it's an eyesore, and I think it's hurting the development in that area. People don't want to build next to something that looks like a junkyard. So we need to get it cleaned up.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my question would be is if there's been constant communication, why would we give them 180 days and not say 90 days?
We had that discussion between Plan Commission staff and some of the legal staff here, and just trying to come up with what a reasonable time is. There are some significant modifications that need to be made to the site, include berming, landscaping, fencing, removal of some of the items that are out there today. And we settled on as 180 days as being a reasonable time frame for the applicant to make the improvements that they need to.
But again, I guess I'll go back to the questions that were asked before, but this wasn't the first time they're hearing of this, correct?
Correct.
And we want to give them another 6 months?
It was the time frame that was discussed and the applicant requested. I think there's a reasonable discussion to be had to shorten it if the council feels that's appropriate.
I see. Okay.
Any further discussion on 19-318? Seeing none, can we please take, oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Councilmember Peschel.
So, is there kind of a tiered process that we can take within this, say, this 180 days? Can we put limitations on the person that says that, you know, within 30 days we want to see this? I'm just throwing out days here. Nothing tied to it. Let's just say that there's 30 days to do this, 60 days to complete this, and then the full, what we all want by the 180.
I'm going to have Amy come up. She is our prosecutor in our office, it's Attorney Vanden Hogan. She's been working with the applicant's attorney on this, and so she's probably the most familiar with their timeline and where things were going.
And kind of, I will tag off what Mark was saying before. There is a lot that needs to be done here. The tiered approach, we didn't go that route. Again, the applicant did not approve it. You can certainly go that route. I can't guarantee that the applicant will accept that and not continue the litigation that we have pending right now. There is significant things that need to occur. He needs to bring in a full landscaping plan to be approved again, a new storage plan to be approved as part of this. But more specifically, there has to be landscaping put in, a piling post, a storage fence on the interior, as well as a storage fence, or excuse me, a fence on the exterior perimeter of part of the property. And then the property also needs to be striped. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done within the next 6 months. Again, as Mark said, if that does not occur, we would be taking enforcement action at that time.
Okay.
Councilmember Miller.
Yeah, do either one of you know if the planning commission voted unanimously for this?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Krause.
Reading through the analysis notes, I just don't understand why we'd reward bad behavior on something that they've proven over the years to not be able to handle with their storage area, which they're not even licensed to have a junkyard or salvage yard. And it says historical photos have shown that vehicles have not been moved in several years, and now they're asking for twice as much of that area when they've proven they can't handle half of it, what they're asking for. It just doesn't make sense.
Councilmember, oh, sorry, did you want to respond?
I was going to say, the applicant, has had a lot of discussion about good faith. He wants to come into compliance. He understands that there's been historical issues out there, and has all indications made that he intends to honor this agreement.
I would have expected him to be down here to discuss it if, I knew he probably knew that he was going to get this kind of criticism.
All right, one moment. City Attorney wants to weigh in here.
This has been in litigation. There's, as I think Mark alluded to, there's been significant back and forth. We have some issues with the litigation. This cleans it up. It makes a nice, clean slate for us. So I wouldn't look at it as rewarding bad behavior. We are making it very clear what the expectations are moving forward and making it easier if we do have to go forward with enforcement, for that enforcement to occur.
Councilmember Mugarauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, City Attorney Lawrenson, I think, answered one of the questions a little bit. If we don't approve this tonight, it sounds as though the process you're undertaking through litigation and that communication process, it's still very difficult and not necessarily positive for us in the end if we continue along the path that maybe we're going on right now.
It makes it a little more difficult
Okay.
for us.
If we get to the point, we approve this, we get to the point in 6 months where we're back to the same point of litigation or issuing citations for violations of code. What's the process? How long does the process take for us to actually get compliance once again, once we're back in litigation, once we're back with citations? We've given them 6 months, they're not there. Lay out the groundwork for me at 181 days, what potentially we have within our disposal to either get correction or use the legal system with our means.
Sure. So there's a couple of different avenues. Generally, it starts with a notice. It gives the individual a certain period of time to comply. That is not with the court. It is just with planning. Then it can go to a citation, which that can be a relatively quick process, but if we need to go to a full-blown lawsuit, that can take a little bit longer. There's a response period in there. So I think it would depend on the extent of the violation at that point, but there are certainly, we're going to be watching this, and there are certainly different procedures we can take. So it's difficult for me to answer you like, it'll be done in 30 days, it'll be done in 60. But to answer your question, something will occur if there is not compliance within a timely fashion.
As a follow-up, I guess just follow-up comment, I could appreciate that part of it, completely understand that there is no set playbook for this will take place on X, Y, and Z. So I appreciate that and the answer too. I'm not excited about approving it. I don't think it sounds like a few of us are excited about approving it, but we know that the ends, not that the ends justify the means, but that this process is important, as I've noted before, and going through this process, hopefully we can get some compliance. But I think I'll stress for myself, and if other council members want to chime in, the applicant needs to get in compliance, and I expect staff to express that as well.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. I'm not going to attempt to repeat anything you said because you did a great job. So the one thing I would like to add to this is that I guess what I'm struggling with is council being responsive to how quickly this can take, because what you just indicated is that after 6 months, it could still take 6 months after that, depending on what step you take, or even longer or shorter, depending on how quickly compliance takes place at that point. So what's going on in my head is there a way that we can be provided as a council an update, say 3 months in, of where are we on this? You know, just kind of that communication factor there.
Yes, staff
Yes.
can provide that in 3 months.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is that,
Do we need to memorialize that within the resolution, or just, it's just noted to staff? I would, if Councilmember Peschel wouldn't mind, I think in 3 months it needs to go back to Plan Commission for their update, and then further on to us for our update. Allow them to chime in. They've done an excellent job of hearing and listening and trying to work through the issues before it even gets to us. But that it should flow back through them first and then come to us.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Muguruza asked the questions I was going to ask, so I'm satisfied with the answer from staff. And I concur with what was just discussed a moment ago. And I'm going to say, although I'm not excited about 180 days, that I do respect the work that the staff has put in, as well as the opinion of the Plan Commission, especially if it was a unanimous decision. And but with that being said, once we hit that 180 days, I won't be sympathetic after.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm assuming this agreement gives us some teeth and puts a bow on it for us. Is that accurate?
That's the idea, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
City Manager Roloff.
I was going to say what Mr. Miller just said, that I think we needed to be, this gives us our best chance of being able to enforce what we have. It gives us more teeth. The other thing I would mention, and I heard it in there, I will add this to, in my directions, council outstanding issues. That way then it'll put a 3-month timeline so you can get an update on it. And I think that that's appropriate. If I didn't know better, I would have sworn you were overhearing conversations I had with staff last week. I'm well aware of these issues, and I think the attorney's office has, in order to get this, the best opportunity for us to get the enforcement that we need, because I've had multiple businesses in that area talk to me over the years about this, and I think this gives us the best chance. I am swallowing hard with this as well, and so I hear you loud and clear and absolutely concur. This will be back on the agenda within 3 months.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, can we please take the roll on 19-318?
Muguruza?
Aye.
Croze?
Aye. Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 19-319, approve general development plan and specific implementation plan for restaurant/indoor entertainment venue 2105 South Kohler Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
Yes. Bob Polk, W4989 Mary Earl Lane, Fond du Lac.
Yeah, hi there. I'm just here to answer any questions representing the owner for the mine shaft. So here to answer any questions you might have as you're going through your information. So we're the architect and builder for the project should it go forward. So I'll let you guys do your thing.
Thank you.
All right, do you have a motion and a second on 19-319?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Alan, can you brief me on this? I'm new. Are we spending any money here? Are we approving anything that we're going to spend money on?
No.
Okay.
This is for their general development plan, which is the general concept for the whole complex. And the specific implementation shows what they want to build and where it's going to be located, the character of the improvements. This has nothing to do with financing. That
Okay.
would be a conversation for the future.
Okay, so we're not spending any city dollars on this at this stage?
Correct.
Thank you.
Just a quick question then for Mr. Lyons. Why would we have both the GDP and the SIP come together?
We give applicants an opportunity to choose if they would like to do just the general concept plan first or run the full package together for an SIP. In this case, the applicant was relatively far along with the plans that they had developed and felt comfortable with seeking both the general development plan and specific implementation plan at a single time.
Thank you. Councilmember Mugrauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Busy night for you, Mr. Lyons. One of the things that I saw when I was watching the Plan Commission meeting and from the staff report here, the applicant had sought to use a significant amount of Class 4 material, split block, I believe, or
The Class 4 materials would be the two corrugated metal options that they're choosing.
Okay, sorry, but part of the mix, they wanted to use a different material. I think it was split block, but it could have been something else.
Yeah, they
Okay.
wanted to use some split face block on the lower portion of the building.
And you had requested to replace that with some higher class material. And that request from the applicant, I think the architect that was there that evening, had identified that poses a significant cost increase for them to do so. I want to thank the Plan Commission, their members, for remembering past discussions they've had, especially along Oshkosh Ave, and along with other recent developments that the high-class nature or the higher, the better image that we were trying to project with some of these developments and to hold them to that standard. I believe the term I heard is if we're going to have rules, then we should stick to them, and otherwise we should not have them in the first place. And I appreciated that comment from, I forget which Plan Commission member or actually staff member, I think maybe he might have said it. But I appreciated that comment. If we have rules, then we should stick to them. Otherwise, we shouldn't have them at all. So I just wanted to say thank you for staff and Plan Commission for holding them to a high standard. I understand the visibility of this location, this project. It's very visible from all four sides, and it needs to look like it belongs in that space on all four sides. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Mugrower?
Aye.
Krause?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 19-320 directs staff to negotiate an agreement with the town of Oshkosh and a proposed sanitary and water service district in the area currently served by water through the state of Wisconsin through the Winnebago County Mental Health Institute. Do we have anyone registered to speak on 19-320?
No one is registered.
Madam Mayor, before we move and second that, may I have a moment of maybe council privilege for the second? Mr. Burch, it's his last evening with council this evening, and after 20-plus years of service to the city, he's not retiring, but he's moving on to maybe greener pastures, and just wanted to thank Mr. Burch for his service. The community is a better place for your service and for the work you've given us, and so I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thanks very much.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry about that, but a little not sorry as well.
But he wore a suit, so you may as well.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen him in a suit.
I only break it out for this and funerals. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. I want to thank this council, previous councils, property owners, residents of the city of Oshkosh for giving me a chance to serve. Almost 25 years here. It's been I've had a long career here. I think we've done a lot. I'm very happy with, the staff that I'm leaving, with the things that we've created. And if I stay up here much longer, I'll start to lose it like I did with staff this afternoon. I just want to thank you all for everything, the community for everything that I've been able to. It's been my pleasure to serve this community all these years. So thank you very much for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
You're not going away so fast, Mr. Burch. And I would like to make a public statement. I was elected 8 years ago, and Mr. Burch and we had different communication styles, we had different thought processes, and it was a bit of a journey. I think you would agree.
Yes.
But despite that, he never gave up on the fact that we could figure out some common ground. And I just want to say I certainly appreciate that. and for always being available to answer questions, even if we agreed to not agree. And to be honest, you've been a class act, and I do think that you've left a great legacy here, and I wish you all the very best in moving forward.
Thank you very much. May I approach and shake hands?
Absolutely. If you can get by Heath.
Sorry for taking up so much time.
I take it he's not in the office tomorrow?
Last one.
Last?
Yep. He's stuck around for this, so.
I'm getting the keys on the way out.
There you go. Get his ID too, Alan.
Yeah.
Pinehurst.
Here he comes.
Yep. Don't forget your golf clubs and your motorcycle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you. So coming back to 19-320, we'll need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Councilmember Mugarao.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If Mr. Robbie just wouldn't mind maybe stepping up to the podium, I didn't give you a heads up, but I'll put you on the spot. I think it's a pretty easy question for you. With Public Works, obviously, we're going to maybe potentially go into an agreement with the township and help provide some water service for them. I know they have a need for it over there. Our infrastructure is sound in that area and can well support the needs of that township.
We're actually already providing them service through WMHI, so our infrastructure is quite capable of providing this service.
My apologies, I misread it then, so sorry.
Yeah, no, since WMHI attached to the city's water service, they have continued to provide service through their system to these properties in the township. So this is the one exception in the plumbing code for currently providing water service outside of our municipal boundary.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And there's no additional fiscal impact with this agreement, correct? City Attorney Lawrence.
There will be some staff time. There will be costs for probably engineers, probably we're going to have to take the water portion through the Public Service Commission. So we will probably need some consultants for that. So there will be some costs to this. Our services are good up to Winnebago Mental Health. It's their system that's failing. And so we will want to have engineers or someone take a look at it, make sure that as they're replacing everything, we're good, that when they attach the new system to it, that it's up to James's standards.
Yeah, well, as a part of the water, as I mentioned, currently these properties are served through Winnebago Mental Health right now, so it's metered in that regard. As a part of this, with the formation of the sanitary district, there'll be a single point of connection between our system and the sanitary district system, and that's where the meter will then be installed. There'll be a master meter from a water standpoint in order to meter what's leaving our system to be able to charge the district. So as Ms. Lawrenson said, there will be some staff time and some consultant effort. The Public Service Commission will have to weigh in and approve a wholesale rate for us to be able to sell to the district. We currently do not have any wholesale rates in our rate case from the Public Service Commission, so there will be some involvement that way as well.
Do we have a rough idea of what those consulting, engineering, staff time, any ballpark rough idea? Not going to hold you to the number, but.
I'm going to estimate I may use some outside counsel for some of the review of it. We're drafting an agreement. We'll also be looking at the rate case stuff. I'm going to estimate my costs at this point. I'm probably going to stay under $25,000. I don't know if you have a good estimate with
From a water analysis standpoint, you know, as I mentioned, we're already providing service to WMHI. So, you know, we've already analyzed our system capabilities in that regard. So I don't think there'll be a lot of effort from an engineering standpoint of analyzing the system. Certainly there'll be some time reviewing plans that the district and their engineers prepare in order to make the connection. So that'll be staff time primarily with that. I don't foresee a lot of need for the consultants there. Certainly, as we move into the Public Service Commission and establishing the wholesale rate, I would anticipate that we'll be engaging Ellers to assist us with that financial analysis.
Okay. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for staff as a whole here. We intend to fully recover every penny that we spend on this because we don't get enough complaints about water bills. So I want to make sure that we're very cognizant of our costs and we have a recovery mechanism for every dime that we spend out there.
Generally, you know, the staff costs are soft costs that are built in. Our goal from day one was to make sure that we weren't going to be paying for the infrastructure, which is $1 million, and we will have no obligation to fund any of the infrastructure that they're talking about. We already have a tap in for WMHI. There'll be another tap for a meter. When there's Public Service Commission regulated, there'll be a meter charge that they'll have to pay, and they'll have an ongoing cost to pay that. Is that a fair way to state it, James?
It'll be the first wholesale rate case I've been involved in, but I would expect that, yes, that would be the case. It would be charged like any meter charge. Generally speaking, the agreement that you know, this resolution is authorizing us to work on will include those cost recovery mechanisms, very similar to our existing agreements with the various township sanitary districts that we receive sanitary sewer flows through. Most of those agreements contain language that a proportionate cost of any engineering that's done. So say, for example, if we're analyzing a capacity of a pipe that's 60% township flows, 40% our flows, and we spend $10,000 on a consultant, 60% of that cost is theirs, 40% of that cost is ours. So those are things that we would be building into this agreement that this resolution would authorize us to work on.
And I do believe you guys will do a great job in analyzing all that. My concern is for the average taxpayer. The term wholesale might scare them a little bit why are they getting wholesale rates when our customers here in town aren't? If you could just clarify that for me.
It's more a reference to how we do it, that we will meter at the sanitary district line, and then they're responsible for the individual bills. So to distinguish between
Yeah, it's kind of a Public Service Commission nomenclature, if you will. A retail service is that person who has the meter. They're the ones that are being provided retail service. We're providing service to another governmental entity, a municipal entity, if you will, in this case, the Township Sanitary District. So that nomenclature is wholesale. That's a part of the analysis that we'll be engaging Ellers to help us with, is determining the cost of delivering that service to build it into that rate discussion.
Okay, thank you both very much.
All right, seeing no further discussion, can the clerk please take the roll on 19-320?
Mugrower?
Aye.
Krause?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Allison Osby?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Palmieri?
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 19-321 approves specific implementation plan for a ball diamond generally located at northeast corner of Pinoqua Street and Rainbow Drive in Rainbow Memorial Park. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
No one is registered.
All right, take a motion and a second on
So moved.
321.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Mugrower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Mauer, if you wouldn't mind, I just have a question regarding the condition with the lights, and it may be planning related as well, it may not be. Planning Commission or Planning Department added the prohibition of field lights. I know in the original Rainbow Park master plan, it included lights on that field. It actually included it right on the plan and on the proposal. To not have those in there, I know right now it's not the intention to light it because the funds aren't available and it's a significant cost for that infrastructure. But to have the prohibition on there to not allow the lighting of it within staff discretion just concerns me a little bit. I think that one should be, knowing what the intent was of that park and the master plan. I guess give me some thoughts on, or give us some thoughts on, are you okay with it not, with that prohibition being in there that you have to go back through the plan commission for approval on that?
At the plan commission, I did request that they withdraw that prohibition, I guess. But with the neighbors' concerns, definitely can see, that it should come back through the process. So I think with one of the plan commissions, actually an adult softball umpire for a number of years, and he explained that the current lighting systems really focus the light on the ball field itself. So I think once we can show that and explain that to the plan commission and to the council and the residents, I think in the future, if it does happen, it shouldn't be an issue. I would have liked to see it not on there, but I'm okay with it going forward.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask because I'd be just fine with making an amendment to remove that part of it, but if you're okay with it moving forward as is, then.
I think it's best for the neighbors to leave it in there at this point.
Sounds good.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Ray, how many lighted ball diamonds do we have in the city?
It will be 2 REITs and Spanbauer, and then we've got 3 at Red Arrow, so 6.
And 2 at the county park.
Well, just in the city, but I'm just curious out of how, just ballpark, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. How many ball diamonds do we have out there?
Under the Parks Department, or?
Yeah, just city parks.
I'm gonna say 15-ish with small neighborhood ball diamonds in parks and so forth. Is a guesstimate.
I'm guessing we have a real shortage of lighted diamonds. Is that accurate?
I would agree.
Okay, so, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. So the issue of the lighted diamonds was more so because the lights would have been on the perimeter that would have been suggestively pointing towards those homes that are behind home plate. Is that the concern?
I think that was the neighbor's concern, but I think, like I said, once we can show with the advancements of the lights that there would not be spillover off the property, and like I said, it focuses on the field because that's where you want the light for the safety of the ball players and for the quality of play.
Sure.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it safe to say that this is going to be our flagship diamond for quite a while?
For the youth, I would hope so, yes.
Okay. I guess I'd like to take the barrier to having lights out at this meeting so we don't have to fight that battle somewhere down the road, so.
City staff, Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you. Typically, when we are considering lighting on projects around the community, the applicant would need to give us the specifications on the location and the height and the type of fixtures, and then they do a photometric plan. Perhaps if you could include that as a requirement if you're thinking about doing that, because that's what the standard we hold to everybody else, so there isn't that light spillover. So it gets to the point where if they can meet city code, at least it could meet city code. It wouldn't really address the neighbors' concerns, but at least it would have the documentation to show that it's not planned to spill over onto the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
I guess if I could make one comment to Alan, I know that I believe Mr. Lyons stated there was a height restriction based on that, so we may have to deal with the height restriction of the poles itself as well.
Correct.
And I guess Plan Commission, did make it pretty clear that they did not want to remove the restrictions on the lighting, so I would not be in support of separating that out at this time. Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. So even if we kept the prohibition in, at some point in the future, whatever organization or if it's the city can come back in and provide that plan, that photometric plan, and it goes back to the plan commission and then eventually comes back to us to suggest whether to stick with it or not.
Yes.
So essentially, what we're debating here is something that still needs to take place through the process that we're typically comfortable with anyway. You can amend, whoever's doing it can say, yes, we'd like to add lighting to it, here's the process then. That's the way I understand it.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. The biggest obstacle, the reason we don't have lighted diamonds in Oshkosh is the biggest obstacle is getting neighbors' approval on lights. It's just like the chickens and the bees and everything. Nobody wants them around, but I'd really like to deal with this here because there is a terrible shortage of ball diamonds and, more importantly, lighted ball diamonds. So, you know, if I can word it to make staff and everybody happy, I'd like to do that.
Councilmember Mukarauer.
I'll take, how about I take care of this? I move to amend 19-321 to remove the restriction of lights on this ball diamond and to require city staff to go back, to provide the photometric light plan that would meet approval underneath our current city code.
Or future city code.
City code in general.
City code in general.
Second.
However, Lynn would like to wordsmith that to.
So we have a motion and a second to amend. Discussion? Councilmember Peschel.
Mr. Mugar beat me to it.
All right, I'd just like to, I guess, address, so the photometric plans only address whether or not light spills over onto adjacent properties. Given that we have a number of shift workers and people who may be sensitive to that extra lighting, I think that, you know, we have to look back at what the Plan Commission advised and to hold future, I guess, folks hostage on this is, I don't think I can support this amendment. Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll support it because there's enough boards and commissions. It's got to come back probably through the Parks Board. It's got to come back to the Plan Commission. There's no talk of lighting now. We don't know what the Lakeshore Master Plan is going to show. So taking that out, I don't think is imminent that we're going to be putting lights in there in the next 6 months to a year. So I don't see it as a big issue at this point because there's a lot of hurdles that would have to get it. But to Councilmember Miller's point, you're correct. We have one lighted hardball diamond in the city of Oshkosh. That's it. We only have 5 lighted diamonds, 6 lighted diamonds in the whole city of Oshkosh. So there'll be a lot of opposition. There'll be a lot of reasons why. So I'd say I'll support it just so that it is one less maybe a hurdle down the line, and maybe it gets incorporated somewhere at the Lakeshore Master Plan too. So I'm supporting the amendment.
Councilmember Peschel.
So a different question that doesn't relate to lighting, but may have been needed to be asked or answered in the previous the previous resolution that was related to this, but I'll put it out there. Part of my concern becomes parking in that area. How will this, because right now, I guess there is no parking, there is no plan to address potential parking issues in that area?
There is.
There is?
Yes.
Okay.
Rainbow Park Master Plan addresses the park.
Okay. So.
Parks Board talked about that several times.
Okay.
Correct, it is in the plan. Additional parking north of the Ball Diamond. And then as we spoke about the Lakeshore Master Plan, we know that that's going to be more of an active area of the Lakeshore site, basically, which will connect to Rainbow. So my assumption will be that there's going to need to be some type of additional parking on the edge of Panoqua.
On the edge of where?
The end of Panoqua.
The end of
The end of
Panoqua.
Panoqua, correct.
So
Up by the water. Oh,
to the
sorry.
west. I'm sorry, to the west where the old
Can we have the map
service?
up?
From essentially the corner of Veterans, Rainbow, up to the Gulf Maintenance Building, that section going, not up to the water's edge, because we'll have the trail coming through that section, so there's gonna be a cutoff where the roadway will continue to, basically. But yes, there will be additional parking.
Okay. That was my concern, because right now there's parking within the park, but right now there would be a lot of parking on the street. And I think the idea is that we want to balance, we don't want everyone parking on the street, we'd rather have a parking area for people to park in.
Yeah, I can't disagree that there's a shortage of parking other than street parking.
Okay, thank you for taking the time.
Councilmember Krause.
I just had a quick question on the lights. So this is a field that's designated pretty much for children, right?
Youth, correct.
So, I mean, lights wouldn't even be on until probably, what, 8:30? And really to feel the full impact of a dark night would be probably 9 o'clock, where residents would be affected?
Most summer evenings, I would guess 8:30-ish, the lights will
Kids'
go
games
on.
don't go much past that anyways, do they? They're usually scheduled earlier, so the lights would hardly ever be used in the first place.
I'm not going to say hardly used because we don't know the scheduling of the field, but typically on a situation for the youth, yes, you're done by 9:30.
But this is a youth
10 o'clock.
field, it wouldn't be used for adults?
Yes, this is only about 215 feet, so,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So the motion and second that we have is to amend for removing the reference to the lighting prohibition.
But there's also to require a lighting plan to meet code.
Right.
That's essentially replacing the restriction with that. Pretty much what Mr. Davis mentioned. Staff understood what Mr. Mugrauer was saying, so we're comfortable with that based on our experience.
All right. So please,
Sorry.
Councilmember Peschel.
So what Mr. Krause just stated to me is a stronger rationale as to not create a lighting plan and to keep it as prohibited because there isn't necessarily a later evening need for it. Mr. Miller, you just indicated that this was going to be, and Mr. Mauer, you backed him up, that this was going to be the flagship softball diamond. To me, what define that for me now, in that sense?
It's going to be the focus of continued fundraising. It's going to be a great place. What a lot of people don't understand about youth sports, and especially girls softball, is that if they get rained out, they got to play double headers. Like right now, there's probably 2 playable fields in the city right now, I'm guessing, with all the rain we've had. So these kids got to make up these games. And so all of a sudden, the need for the diamonds just gets consumed instantly, where if you could play a doubleheader, keep the lights on at night till 9:30, 10 o'clock. What time do we shut them off at Reeds? 11?
Park hours are 11. They don't typically go that long, again, unless there's makeups for the adult leagues.
Right. So, I mean, the lighting is a huge issue for these girls softball players. It really is a huge asset to have for the kids.
Okay. Would that have to conform to, is there any type of neighborhood issues where lights have to be off at certain places, certain times? I mean, like you can't, like a noise ordinance where you can't make a certain decibel of noise after a certain time, it's considered a violation. Is there?
Typically, it's park hours, which is 11 p.m.
Okay.
But again, a lot of the diamonds, if they're youth used, like Red Arrow, they're not on that late. Sometimes, like I said, at REITs, depending on makeup games for adults, they may go close to that time. But as far as being turned off sooner than that, there is not.
Okay.
Councilmember Mugrauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to add one point of hopeful clarification or help in your decision-making. The reference to when the lights are going to be on, 8, 9 o'clock at night, it's not just about July. What you're talking about is April and May. That's what you're talking about when it comes to youth sports and specifically youth softball. Having grown up as a baseball player and a softball player, the sun sets at 5 o'clock in April and May sometimes, and sunsets at 6 o'clock, still in May sometimes. And so that's when you need the lights. It's not in the middle of July, in the middle of August when the sun is still up till 8:45 at night and it's still, it's dusk out. It's really May, April, May, and into early June that you need lighting on fields to accommodate the needs of these athletes, these young athletes, these student athletes. So hopefully that helps with any clarification or making your judgment.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. Something to consider too is the Convention Visitors Bureau Board did a study about 5 years ago on athletic fields facilities in the city of Oshkosh. Dire lacking of those. And in the summer, we have youth softball teams that are trying to fundraise. They can't hold tournaments because they don't have lights. They can't bring teams in from outside the area because they don't have lights. Again, this is not proposed to have lights. We don't know when it'll propose to have lights. All we're doing is taking a little bit of a restriction off so that maybe down the line, if there's funding for it, the opportunity is there to maybe put the lights in there. But as I said earlier, there's a lot of boards, commissions it's got to go through. So I don't know that us making a big issue out of it now is a big issue. But I would support taking the restriction off at this point.
All right, so we will call the roll on the motion and the second, or I'm sorry, on the motion to amend, removing that section.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Ellison Osby. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
No.
carried 6-1.
So we now go to voting on 19-321 as amended.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Looks like we have no further discussion. Please take the roll.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Ellison Osby. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
No.
carried 6-1.
Moving on to council discussion and direction to city manager of future agenda items. Number 37, direction to staff on active licenses for Machi's and Uptown 2.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Both of these businesses are not operating and utilizing their Class B liquor license. There's a little bit of backstory to each of them. I want to describe it and then give you what we're recommending to do at this time, because council policy is to bring it back when there's inactivity for a period of 1 year. In the case of Matchkeys, the only real issue there was that the RDA had been considering purchasing the site, but in the meantime, they have a federal tax lien. They have filed renewal, but we believe it's appropriate to go through a non-renewal process. There's a process that the city attorney puts us through to make sure that we follow all the appropriate rules. With that said, as you're aware, we have already 2 vacant licenses right now, and the idea is that we're trying to pool these so that when we have projects come forward, we have the opportunity to be able to issue licenses. If somehow they were able to get out of their issues, they can certainly come back. With that said, several businesses have come forward and returned their licenses to us with that understanding that pool method will work. I have experience in it. It works very well. If we have a project that we really want to work with, we've got the capability of doing that, and just basically telling everybody to, when you're ready to go, approach us and we'll work with you to try to get that. In the case of Uptown 2, it's a little bit different because I think they'd be ready to go, except they're located at 1601 Oregon Street. And it's right, I mean.
The death zone.
We're the ones, it's not a self-imposed problem. We're imposing that on them. Staff's belief is that we should just go through the process, renew it, and then if at the next time we take a snapshot at them and they're not performing, then we bring it back. But once the street's done, it's been indicated to us they're gonna move ahead with it. But doing a grand reopening of a bar in the middle of a construction project, I'm not a bar expert, but it's probably not a good business plan. So that's why we're thinking that we bring that one forward and we not do a process of non-renewal. We just don't think that would work. We have others that, some are inactive that have not reapplied. If they don't reapply, then it'll just, we'll have a third one on, and then we'll go through whatever happens with Matchkeys. We'll notify them. They have to come before the council. It's a hearing. Many of you have that recollection of those. You have to go through that process. But I will say that since we've been doing this, the businesses have been very understanding and trusting us, and I think that's great. But it does give us more flexibility so that when we have a very unique opportunity to get a business in here that needs a liquor license, we can be responsive to them. So I think the process is working.
Councilmember Peschel.
So I'm not familiar with Matchkeys or Matchkeys, so what is the address of that?
I'm sorry, it's 668 North Main.
It's next to Pedestrian Arts,
Ah, okay,
near Main Street Resale.
got it. So it's the old Sammy's and the.
Councilmember
It is
Miller.
the old DJ Sammy's, yes.
Councilmember Miller, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, sorry, thank you, Mayor. So we're pulling this person's license, is that accurate?
What we're asking for is direction to schedule it for a non-renewal hearing, then they have their day in court. It is a quasi-judicial hearing before the council.
Have they been notified that this is taking place tonight, and have they had an opportunity to come here and speak?
This would give them that opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
would start that process that you're asking
Okay.
about.
And they also had another year,
Correct.
because they went through this process last year. too.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we're taking something away.
Right, and that's what this process.
Councilmember Muguruza.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with what you've proposed to do so far, bring forward match keys for a non-renewal and allow Uptown 2 to renew if they so choose, given the situation and the circumstances on Oregon. I think it's completely reasonable to do that with them and to bring match keys forward for a non-renewal.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Mr. Mugrower and Mr. Miller that we should start the process with Matchies and renew Uptown 2 due to circumstances of the road construction. And I think one time we did some kind of like 6-month review, didn't we? But I'd rather stay on our present course of direction because we altered it one time and that made it very
Yeah,
difficult.
it makes it more difficult because you're actually renewing the license
Right.
for a year.
Right.
It would-
So I support it moving forward.
As do I.
Thank you. Appreciate the direction.
All right.
The next one was something that was on our outstanding issues. This has to do with the new Parks Operations Facility. Essentially, getting direction from council that we incorporate that into our 5-year plan. With that said, the idea is that council's also given me direction on working on a new debt policy, and that would they have to be overlaid with one another. It's not just magically, okay, we're going to put it in. It would be try to work to incorporate it, show council how it can be accomplished within our borrowing plan and everything. And Ms. Larson and I are going to be incorporating that with some other ones, 9th Avenues and streets and then public facilities, because I think we need to take all of our public facilities and pretty much prioritize them and which one's going to go first. I gave you my thought on it last meeting that the Parks Operations Facility was probably the number one, and that's why I think we're bringing it forward. But we have to incorporate all the other projects in there, and they're just going to have to wait their turn. And that is going to be all based on the economy. If we don't get an increase in equalized value, which is really our key here, if we get no increase in equalized value, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to bring that forward. If we get a little bump up in equalized value, it's amazing what that can do. And we've got our colleagues from Ellers back there that can probably verify that. We've had little to no growth since 2009, except for the past couple of years, and it's helped us. But that's why we're down close to 60% of our debt limit. So we've done better than we even had originally set out to do with the original debt policy. Now the question is, where do we go next with our debt capacity, and how flexible does council want to be? So it's really about just incorporating that in.
Deputy Mayor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'd like to almost kind of lay this over till the next meeting because I don't believe 2 council members have seen the park study or our policy on long-range finance at this point. So I support it because I don't think we should be spending $200,000, $300,000 to repair the parks shop and 5 years later tear it down. That's a waste of taxpayer dollars. But it's not fair to new council members if they have not seen the study and they have not seen any of the policy that the council has on our debt issues and that, and we waived them last time. So I think we should bring this back at the next council meeting so that we can have a better discussion that they have that information.
And we don't really need a motion for that, so if we have consensus of council.
Consensus is all we need.
Yeah, there's no urgency with this.
Okay.
Councilmember Muguruza.
Nope, I'll withdraw that. If we're going to lay it over, that's completely fine. I've just had, I can clarify it next time. So.
Councilmember Crossley.
I'm going to agree with Deputy Mayor Herman. I don't want to invest any money on a building that probably should be torn down tomorrow.
That'd be nice, huh?
Yeah.
They do have to have a place. But thank you.
If we could build something tomorrow.
Thank you. We'll put it on
And-
6/11. That's what I'm
right.
hearing.
So next is me, boards and commissions study. Given the late hour and the number of items that we still have yet to consider this evening, as well as a closed session, I will defer to moving this out as well, this discussion, because I anticipate this will take some time.
And I think we should do with that, with 40 also. Lay that-
40 as well.
Yeah, I mean,
It's fine, yeah.
All right.
if everybody's okay with that.
I think that was one of my suggestions or requests to bring it back, and I have no issue with pushing that out 2 weeks.
I agree.
Yep. it's fine.
Everybody good with that? All right.
Did the citizen statement.
So we already did our second opportunity for citizen statements, unless we happen to have someone still here who would like to speak. We'll move on to council member announcements and statements. Council reminder, city manager evaluation, deputy mayor has something to say on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder, city council members, we will be going in closed session June 25th to do the mid-year evaluation of the city manager. If you have any questions, concerns that you'd like Mr. Roloff to answer, please get them to Diane or to me, but do not send it electronically, please. Send it either through an envelope to Diane in our council packet, because it is confidential going in closed session. So just a reminder of that. So thank you, Mayor.
Next is city manager announcements and statements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple items just to talk about, some to brag about. Very happy to report that the owners of City Center have indicated that they plan to open up the garage, the City Center parking garage, for public use at the July 4th for the Festival Foods Fireworks Show. Real happy that they've stepped up and have agreed to do that. That'll add to the options for people to get downtown. So we really appreciate what they're doing there. Similarly, I put this item, and I hope it wasn't too vague. It's titled "Option to Permit Limited Alcohol Consumption on City Streets at Certain Events." We know from talking with some of our colleagues in other communities that they've had some success having some events that have a limited scope, limited area, limited times, and have been successful in being able to responsibly be able to allow the public to consume alcohol in a given area. We did experiment with that 10 years ago, 11 years ago actually, when the Jackson Street Bridge was open and there was an event down in Opera House Square. There's always been concern about how that would go, but as we're talking to some of our neighbors and colleagues in other communities, we think we can maybe visit this. What staff was discussing about what options out there, we have July 4th coming up, and technically Pioneer Drive is not a city park yet. We know now that we own it, that eventually it'll turn into a city park with the Riverwalk and everything, but that's going to be a big place for people to go to watch the fireworks show. And literally across the river in Riverside Park, people will be able to legally, crack open a beer or something like that. This may be an opportunity for us to experiment and see on a trial basis if the public can respond responsibly to allowing that to happen. I'm bringing it up because we'd like to bring it forward, probably with the June meeting, so that by July 4th, the council can give this consideration and see if there's something we want to do. If it's successful, then we can say, all right, is there any other next step that we want to take a look at? I'm throwing it out there because from a competitive standpoint, we know that some communities are doing this very successfully. Most of them don't do it into the evening. We're delving into because of the fireworks show, but maybe trying to experiment with daytime type of events. For example, the Oktoberfest and Mile of Music in Appleton, they're done at 6 p.m. And then if those folks want to continue to consume alcoholic beverages, they can go to any of the places in town. If we could do that as kind of a start on this. So throwing it out there, really just to kind of plant the seed, and I welcome feedback. You don't need to give me a response now. It's been a long evening, but certainly want to give you the ability to basically take that in and give some thought to it.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I do a fair amount of traveling, and I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, but I can tell you, we are way behind the times here, being Event City. Some of the larger cities that we go, or I go to, allow that. I mean, Savannah, Georgia, gorgeous area. I mean, you can walk up and down the streets there with alcohol. There's several other cities. Houston, we're just way far behind the times on this. So just, like I said, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, but we're behind the 8 ball here.
Councilmember Mover.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd be completely supportive of seeing a resolution or something coming forward to support this. I would support one coming forward. Given the limited scope and the idea or the thought process behind it, especially with 4th of July and this unique opportunity we have with the new location. It may be time sensitive if you wish to try to do something, but I would be more than interested to see something come forward.
The idea here would be an ordinance, so even if it took 2 readings, we'd be able to have it adopted by July 4th, if that's what. So the idea is to bring it to you on July 11th, or June 11th, excuse me, and then we'd be okay prior to July 4th.
Good idea.
Thank you. There is a memo in your packet from Ms. Najunas, our associate planner. We have Neighborhood Association number 17. It's the Menominee North Neighborhood Association. And Jake, thank you. He put the Neighborhood Association right there on the map. It's just slightly north of Irving, and then goes up to New York Avenue, and then from basically the tracks to the lake. That's pretty much it. So we'll include Menominee Park in there as well. We're real happy that the neighborhoods formed themselves, and appreciate everybody sticking around for the end. It wasn't for an approval thing, it was really more an announcement, but welcome to the Neighborhood Association family, Menominee North. So I think I had to get some shout out for sticking around this long.
Can I just make one comment? Because that is my neighborhood, so I'm real happy about that. And I couldn't make their public meeting, I was out of town, but Pam has done an excellent job organizing it.
I think you got elected to something since you didn't.
Oh, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. But it is a big neighborhood association. As it showed, 490 residential properties are in this neighborhood association, and it borders 2 other ones, which is kind of unique in the north side. So strong neighborhood participation, and not taking the Middle Village out of that, but it's real close to that too. So north side of Oshkosh has really embraced the neighborhood association. I'm really excited about it, and a couple of my neighbors have talked to me already about it, and they're very happy about it. So we got some homes to work on in our area.
And I'd like to say congratulations to Menominee North as well. We do frequently walk through that area, obviously on our way to the park. But I would just say procedurally, if council would entertain this, that in future, when we have recognition of neighborhood associations, perhaps we might want to look at putting that in the presentation beginning of the agenda so that we don't detain our folks this long.
They're still smiling, but I think that's a great idea. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Would you like to give Counselor directions?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent suggestion, because it's really a nice little presentation and the work that they did, and maybe some of the highlights that they're looking at, because we've already approved in some of our plans, other neighborhood association plans, so I think it's good that we highlight them in that. So
Very good. Thank you. Happy to report that Oshkosh Media received 4 Excellence Awards at their recent state conference from the Wisconsin Community Media Association. Those are all programs that are produced in-house. The top 10 end of the year city managers report program, which of course I want to mention first of all, but that's because of Emily, not because of me. State of the City for 2018, and then one of our heavy metal segments that's done by Scott Williams of our staff. And Jake, I'm escaped on the 4th one. The Welcome to Oshkosh series, thank you, that you saw at the end of last year. So we're really proud of those, proud of the work and the recognition that Oshkosh Media gets. There's a memo in your packet about purchase of a emergency generator for the public safety building. It's 30 years old. It was in the budget, and we're acquiring that through a joint purchase process. And then there's the list of outstanding issues, and based on the conversation that occurred earlier in terms of the 1911 West Snell, we'll make sure that that's added to that list as well. And then, unless there are any questions, I have one more I just want to bring up. It has to do with Lakeshore Park. The Pulco survey is now open, and I encourage people, whether you're a member of the council or a member of the public, to fill out the Pulco survey and give us your input on what you would like to see at Lakeshore Park. I believe it's open through, June 8th.
There was a timeline on our last council.
Yeah, I think it's
But
just-
it's June, middle of June, I think.
Yeah.
The
something like
latest.
that. So sooner the better. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. I believe Deputy Mayor Herman has a motion to make for closed session.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Common Council may convene in the closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategies, parameters, and terms related to the negotiation of an agreement for the redevelopment of the Marion Road redevelopment sites H, I, and J, and the redevelopment of Aviation Plaza pursuant to Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session.
And we need a second.
Second.
Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mugrower,
Aye.
Rousey,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Ospey. Aye. Herman,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye,
carried 7.
and we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.